I've made my decision. The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race is
Madeline Kahn.
Oh my God.
I've been with thousands of men. Again and again. They promise the moon. They keep on coming and going and going and coming. And always too soon.
Congratulations, you are the winner of this week's challenge.
Oh, Jesus. Gross.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Kira Sedgwick Fan Club. I'm your host, Nico. JK, this is X's for Show, also the Kira Sedgwick Fan Club. It's us, Kevin Bacon, and the rest of the world. You can check us out at X's for Show. As for me, Nico Action, NICOACTION, and all your soch.
I love Kiwi Sub Gub. I'm TK Elemental. I'm TK, and you can find me at TK Elemental.
I'm Peak Jonah. I'm Jonah, and you can find me at Peak Jonah.
Thanks for joining in the new trend.
I also love Kyrie Seji, and you can find me at Kev O'Reilly.
Oh man, I am super excited. We have a kind of got to get the guns out kind of show for tonight. We are going to be talking some Snatch Game, which I really can't wait for the guest judges to be Jay and Silent Bob, so it can be the Snoochie Boochies game. We're going to talk some Untucked. We're going to talk some UK versus the world and Scarlet Envy, proving that drag queens are not just full of fluff. They know how to use their degrees. And we are going to then talk about my favorite episode of The Traitors of all time. So anyway.
Every episode so far has been our favorite.
Well, bless. And, as long as we have amazing, super cool, super friend fans like the awesome Kyle. Hey, what's up, Kyle?
Hi, Kyle.
We can't ever go wrong. But I do want to start things off with, we had an oh my kind of Snatch Game moment that kicked everything off today. And it is an unforgettable question that we kind of need to break in with. When you talk about Snatch Game, you are talking about the art of imperfect impersonation. Like, one of the things they basically say is, how far can you get from the character? And I just want to say that sometimes, like, to me, that Patti LuPone from Plasma was almost an original character in the way that it was just not really Patti LuPone. It had some of her like phrases, but then she almost felt like an original Broadway character of a diva from the 80s. And in a cool way. No, not coming for Plasma. It just didn't feel like Patti LuPone. And of course, she didn't top. So, like, I can't imagine Plasma's a top, but verse.
Patty's a top,
sure.
bro.
Kira Sedgwick is a top. And so I felt very much like Tsunami, who, by the way, I just want to be clear, is the very best. Like, no one ever was. To place on Drag Race was her test, and now to do Work the World is her cause. And I feel like she got dinged for something that the rest of them get away with because they borrow a name. And if her mistake was having the originality of a unique name, oh well. But like, I just don't think that some of these characters are the character anyway. So why don't we just start embracing the OC? That is, of course, the original characters, bitch.
I sit on the fence on this one. I feel as though it is, given the rules of the show, a very valid strategy. And some people just aren't good at looking at a celebrity and figuring out what they can do. Because some, like Adele, that was an original character. Adele is not like that. Ginger's Adele. Adele knows where her house is.
My house.
We kind of learned Adele later was like your best friend at the pub kind of chav girl who kind of swears like a plumber. But at the time we didn't really know that. And so Ginger just made up a character, and it was great. I mean, it was really fun. But like nothing about that was like, and as we all know, famously stupid Adele constantly answers questions with
simple Adele.
yeah, like the only thing was like kind of the food stuff because she was a little fat back then, but like we didn't, Adele also wasn't like eating and smoking in public. So anyway, it was an original character. And so when you think of it that way, there is kind of this spectrum. I am most impressed when a Jinx Monsoon looks at Little Edie and says, I can do that, and I can do any answer as her in a way that would be true to the character, where if somebody said that answer was actually basically a quote from Grey Gardens and that answer wasn't, Jinx made it up, and people would say like, oh, I couldn't tell I wouldn't know which one was which. For me, that is when I am absolutely most impressed. But I think that is closely followed by any measure of success, whether that is making up an original character and nailing their voice or kind of anything else that you do. I think when you make up an original character and fail, that's probably the worst form of failure. Because you didn't have the same rules as everybody else. There was no like, well, you didn't do her this movement. You literally, if you're the gold tooth fairy, you can say whatever you want as long as you make it real. Oh God, Shirley Temple. I mean, again, that was another one where like, that's basically an original character because, but internally completely consistent. And I mean, she just nailed it. So, that's my long-winded speech on how you can succeed and fail at Snatch Game.
I think we need to reinvent, as the show evolves, what we view Snatch Game as. It is originally maybe started as do funny improv with a pretty accurate as you can get impersonation of a character or of a celebrity. Much more, we're focusing a lot more on the improv and making Rue laugh. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter who you say you are. If you make Rue laugh, you're golden. And at that point, that's what Snatch Game is. And I think we as collective, fans need to, I think, let off a little bit because it's no longer about impersonation. And that's absolutely fine. And that has to be okay. We have to, everybody take a deep breath. Relax. It's not the end of the world. It's not about impersonations anymore. It's all about long improv and making Rue laugh. Watching Tsunami do this, even Rue kind of said it. There's you're writing the blank check. It's an original character. You can kind of do what you want with it, and that can be a lot easier for someone who maybe doesn't feel as comfortable. Not to say Tsunami didn't feel comfortable doing a celebrity, but if maybe someone doesn't feel as comfortable doing a celebrity, saying, if I just do someone I want.
I just want to be clear. It kind of depends on the celebrity, because, if it's somebody I'm attracted to, I'll do them. But, if it's just one of those get famous fucks, it's iffy.
Yeah, we're not star effers here, but a lot of Snatch Game has been challenged and changed. I mean, season 7, Kennedy Davenport did Little Richard. She was the first person to do a man on Snatch Game. That wasn't allowed, and she was like, "No, I'm doing it," and she killed it and smashed it. And, season 8, Bob did 2 characters. Bob didn't tell people that she was going to do 2 characters. She did 2 characters. And that isn't, is that against the rules? Is that not allowed? There are no rules. It's RuPaul's show. At the end of the day, as long as we now view Snatch Game as a panel of an improv character, where most people are playing celebrities, and it might be a little bit easier to play a celebrity with someone we know with, you're just playing an archetype of somebody. And as long as you're funny, who actually cares?
Because Meghan McCain, who also did not place, that was not Meghan McCain. It wasn't even a little bit Meghan McCain. There was a couple of references to things Meghan McCain has done in her life.
But not even that. It is more like references to things that plausibly you could write a joke about believing Meghan McCain had done.
Yes.
You know, like keg stands in Washington. She didn't do keg stands in Washington.
That was the Bush girls.
But she was definitely in Washington at some point, and you can laugh at the idea of her doing a keg stand. So, you know, that's fine. But Meghan McCain has done some unhinged stuff on The View, and technically you don't have to make up anything to do a funny Meghan McCain impression. So it really is, you know, Jonah, I think you're right insofar as we have two options. One, I would you would codify this on Drag Race, and Rue would say has to be a celebrity. I need to see references to the real things that they've done and real moments that they've had, and you better impersonate them well. And then I'm like, yeah, everybody study up. Like, before you submit your audition tape, have 3 people that you can nail. But the fact of the matter is, it really, make Rue laugh is the only thing anybody ever says. And the only time you get dinged about your character is when you do select someone who is a known quantity, and you need to say to Rue, how am I going to work with that known quantity to be funny? But that's the only thing she cares about. And since we're there, I do think it kind of is a free-for-all. And I don't really love the fandom kind of gatekeepery of it's got to be real celebrities, good impressions, because I just think that would make for really boring TV.
And half the time the impressions are just of people's impressions. Like, I just want to be clear, some of the funniest Snatch Game characters were really great when they were on SNL 2 years earlier.
Yeah, or, you know, the thing is, they're not allowed to do characters. So it has to be a person.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
okay,
a lot of times people are doing a celebrity's character, but only naming the celebrity.
So, for example, Bob did Uzo Aduba from Orange is the New Black, but just playing that character. It wasn't actually Uzo. It's how they get around the copyright, because they can't use they're not paying for the copyrights to be able to show the rights for the character. They don't want to deal with the legal stuff. And they've told some people no, even if they've gotten permission. Example, on season 7, Max wanted to do, at the time before everything came out, Miranda Sings, and then wasn't allowed to because Miranda Sings is a copywritten character.
Yeah.
Well, but so then let me ask about that. People who do Lady Gaga, that's not the human. The human is Stephanie Germanotta, right? So how can they get away with doing Lady Gaga?
Because Lady Gaga is not
She's a
character;
trademark.
it's a stage name.
But it's a trademarked character. There are animated versions of her that are trademarked. Like, she's a trademarked entity. I can't call myself Lady Gaga. It is a copyrighted, owned thing that is not the woman's name.
I have a question on that subject as well. So they thought, or at least Rue said, who knows how much that was manufactured, but that she thought that this was a completely fake person that Plain Jane made up. I feel like there is a difference between the Gold Tooth Fairy, which is a concept, not a real person, but a concept, and if Plain Jane had completely made up a fake person for Snatch Game. Do you feel like there's a difference between if this was a fictional Plain Jane character versus really stretching the idea of what a fictional character is? Like, I was fine with Uzo's character being portrayed. I forget who did Maggie Smith and really just played her character from Downton Abbey. Yeah, like, I'm fine with that. I would have a bigger problem if, like, this was a made-up person entirely, because I feel like Snatch Game is supposed to be... Yeah, even that, like, even someone's cousin, like, if this was Lady Gaga's weird Russian, cousin, but entirely original, no connections to anyone else, fictional to this queen, how would you feel about that?
I think I probably wouldn't be into that for Snatch Game, although I do love the idea. I actually think doing a challenge where you need to create a new alter ego, a new persona, and, you know, fully embody it. Give us, you know, they can't be you. They can't have your trademark thing. Maya, your person, can't do flips. Give us a whole new character. I actually think that's a really good challenge. I think you are right. It doesn't work for Snatch Game, and Jane is like Plain is probably a case that we'll look at for a while to come, because we also don't know if those answers are her recognizing aspects of this performer and using them, or if this is nothing at all like how this performer is, but Plane is just nailing the responses.
That's even kind of how I feel about the fact that Trina's cousin Shakira is I thought she was great. Honestly, I thought that was funny as hell.
I mean, honestly, every time they kept panning to her and there was more money in there was really funny. I do love physical like prop comedy like that.
I think where I want, because I want to move us to the episode as part of this discussion, right? Part of what I thought was so interesting about this is everybody came at Tsunami because she was like, "Oh, I'm doing an original character," and everybody was like, "Mm-mm." And I just kind of want to be like, that's kind of even the proof that she maybe didn't talk to Candy as much, because I kind of feel like Candy would have been like, "No, baby, you can't do that." You know what I mean? So I feel like that would have come up.
I mean, Evie got away with doing the boogeyman.
No, Evie got away with doing the boogeyman because Evie oddly is incredible.
Also, on season 8, Kim Chi did Kimmy Jong-un, Jong-un's sister. Like that.
We did Gorgina Ramsey last season.
Like,
so are those gender flops to you when it's their sister that is the exact same person?
I mean, obviously, yes.
But then it's still an original character.
Yeah.
Is it an original character, or is it because would you say that a female Sherlock Holmes is an original character, or is that a female take on Sherlock Holmes?
Right.
So like that's part of where it is for me. The fact that they let them bend the rules is a little questionable.
Yeah.
Because I thought that the best one for me was James Brown. Not just because I am a Saphira boy, but
no,
you know.
I actually really did not think I was certain that Saphira was going to win until one comment at the very end of the judging where Rue says she could have done more, which is my least favorite criticism.
RuPaul could know the dance step, her lyrics, or also move, and we don't say that to her face.
My hot take is this probably should. I'm gonna say should. I'm gonna say should, not probably. Should have been a double win. It should have been. It should have been Saphira and Jane. This is for me.
To quote Dawn, I don't know about should. Could, yes, but I don't know about should.
I have opinions about people's reactions to Dawn.
Yeah, we all do, I think, at this point.
The fact that I need to get this out of the way. I've seen so many people like Dawn should have been in the bottom. I didn't like what she did. I say this, I have blinders, I have biases as somebody who is a fan of Dawn, who is inspired by her art and how she presents herself and what that character is. I truly do not think between Plasma, Q, and Dawn, we have any actual information to know if they actually did well or not. We got to see them answer one question out of the 3 they do. I have no idea how they actually did, because the little bit they did show was fine for me. So the people that are like, Dawn should have been in the bottom. No, we actually have no idea how these people actually did.
I think the problem is that Dawn is basically what if Link from The Legend of Zelda was cunty, and people don't exactly know how to handle it because she's adorable. We love her. We root for her. We think she's great. When she says bullying stuff that I would give any girl a hard time on, but everybody goes, tee-hee, it's so cute. It like kind of bothers me because I actually know a lot of people who are like, no, you're actually dumb. I'm kidding, joking. No, you're a bitch. I'm joking. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's actually, no, you only make those jokes when you think there's a lick of truth in them. And that's why we give Jane a hard time. So I also think Dawn could maybe calm the vitriol for how much she seems to think she's adorable. But
and I will say I think that's why she has been so active on social media, being so cute and sweet, which I love. You can buy it back. But
yes, and 1,000%.
I do notice that she is working a second job on social media, being kind to everybody, including like being a mediator around Plane and a mandatory meeting stuff. Amanda is still very clear on social media that Plane was her bully, and it's people like Dawn who are saying like, support Amanda, but also don't send hate to Plane. So she's working overtime. I very much appreciate that.
And thank you, for getting my point that I wasn't saying that Dawn is a garbage monster who can't be forgiven. It's the moments make me uncomfortable, but she's clearly a good person.
And it's also it's tough for us to be in the position of I can't define bullying, but I know it when I see it. So we're really in this place where we're like, well, I definitely know Plane is bullying. But I think I'm gonna say Dawn is not. Well, why isn't Dawn? Because I said so.
Because Triforce rules.
Yeah, that's not. It's not working as an argument. So we just kind of gotta sit with that a little bit. But yeah, Jonah. I mean, I agree. I think there have to be people that are safe when the numbers are like this. If somebody is safe, no matter what, it had to be 3 queens this episode. Somebody's got to be safe. And I do think they only cut to 2 answers from Dawn.
They cut to 1. They showed her introduction, and then she answered the last question. I counted, because I literally thought to myself, we haven't seen Dawn. She's probably safe. Because that's how they do the Snatch game, is when your character is safe, whether you were good or not, is you answer 1 question.
Yeah.
The weirdest... And that's how I usually use the edit to help me, how the show tries to show who the edit is. You see more of the people who do bad or good. Not to say to blame it on the edit. I'm not trying to argue that they were actually hysterical and really a lot funnier. The only person who I think, to my knowledge that I know of, is Aja on All Stars 3, who I think was a lot funnier than they were given credit for, and cut out one of the funnier things she said between... I didn't write anything down because I just wanted to say all these girls are ugly, which is hysterical.
Oh, okay. One thing we got to get this out of the way. Let's just get our feelings out of the way. Chad, it was so great to see you.
The queen,
so
mother,
beautiful. I cannot get enough Chad. Chad is one of the 3
great.
things that got me to watch this show in the first place, and Chad, it was
Looks fantastic.
she looked so
Can I
good.
tell you, when they did the commercial bumper before the act where Chad walks in, they showed this. And god damn it, Chad is so good at their job that I was like, did they just show Cher and no one else is freaking out? Okay. I guess that's... Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who cares about Cher.
This was such a cool moment. I got to watch all of Chad's stuff from her original season just a few weeks ago, and I could not have loved her more. I just think she's incredible, and the way she stood up to her own bully in that weird hot straight man was really cool. And I love Chad. Oh my god, I love Chad, and so this was so cool. I was so excited. But okay, I want to ask a serious question because to start the show in a serious manner now. I do think that there is some really unfair treatment of Dion, right? I think there is
Morphine.
Right? I'm gonna keep calling her Dion because I don't think it's super cute having names that mock the opioid epidemic.
Fair.
And that she didn't even know what it meant and had to be told about it later and then literally shrugged about it isn't the cutest thing. Literally thousands of Americans die every day from morphine overdoses. So we wouldn't think it was cute if her name was Morphine Loves Heroin. So, but one of the things about Dion that definitely gets my attention is I counted her as kind of an also-ran early on in the season. And I've come to see she and Maya step into their own as amazing queens. I feel like production, maybe the other girls, and definitely a lot of fandom just sort of shrugs at her. Like, she kind of isn't treated fairly. And so then when you've got a Snatch Game character that's so iffy to begin with, I don't know that I thought she should be on the bottom this week.
So I thought this was actually one of the best possible choices, and she really screwed it up. And I'm sorry to say that because I do like her. I think my rebate on what you said is a big chunk, the very energetic chunk of Drag Race fandom knew immediately that they loved Morphine as an icon and as a queen that you would love to see, that you would love to go to her show, that you can't wait to hear the funny things that she says. But plausibly, she is not making it to the top 4. I think you could see...
There's only one near enough a year.
I mean, yeah. I think you could see immediately where she's really strong. She's a really good queen. But I think this season, the standouts announced themselves immediately and were really the ones to beat. There are very few queens, Plasma among them, who have
fucking outfit of all time.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Don't worry. Who have kind of seemed a little shrug when the show started, but then just kind of started to creep up. a lot of people walked in the position that they have stayed in for the entire season. And Morphine feels like does not leave immediately, but isn't in the top 4. And we'll never know what would have happened with the Rusical. I would be very interested to know if she could have handled it, but my feeling was she would not have had Plasma's ability to carry that show the way that Plasma did. I could be totally wrong. I could eat that later, but my thing was, this was a person who we have a show. We have all of the actual things that she has said in the news, and then we have a show that has condensed them into memeable sound bites. You literally, this is memorizing a song for a lip sync to have everything you need to do a perfect Anna Delvey. And she got one really solid aspect of it, which is "You Look Poor," and then not a single other one. And I do think it was that she literally did not sit down and rewatch the show when she knew she was going to do this character and write down the 20 things that she says that are recognizably her, and that could be a response to absolutely anything that Rue says to you.
She kind of looks like Sydney Sweeney in Madam Web.
100%. Oh my God.
That's Julia Cornwall. I just saw Julia Cornwall, girl.
That's next season. Some queen better do that next season.
I think I knew she might be in a little bit of trouble when her first introduction joke was the same one she did in the workroom. I don't know how Morphine prepared for the show. I don't know any of that. I'm not going to make any presumptions. I do think that we saw a little bit, maybe. I'm going to say uncomfortableness. And to say Snatch Game is uncomfortable. You're doing an hour, 2 to 3 hours, maybe, of full improv where you have to stay in character. On top of that, you have to be funny, and you have to volley not only with the people around you. If they give you something, you have to volley with RuPaul the most. And sometimes Ru doesn't give the best volleys. She kind of just goes, eh. And it's like, girl, no, be fair. Give them all a little something. I didn't know who this person is. I'm not culturally versed enough to know that who the scammer is. I feel like should be plenty there. But maybe it's also, you get there. There's one thing to prepare for something. It's another to actually get in front on stage, do it, and just kind of have a moment. Was it the worst thing in the world? No, this wasn't a bad Snatch Game at all. It was pretty good overall. I put it not one of the best, but really not one of the worst. It was overall, solid, and everybody did a decent enough job.
Since about season 9, I would say this is one of the best.
Yeah, it was good. You look good. I do, and I think to last week with the Rusical, I think that might have been something of, in general, I don't know if people realize with a lot of musical theater, again, you're on in that role, you were on stage the entire time. You have to be in character, be in musical theater character, which is already its own kind of thing. It's not, I don't think musical theater acting is the same as regular acting. I think it's a different kind of skill set, really. And there's a certain aura and energy to it.
I just want to interact that I think there is a humongous difference between what they're doing in musical theater acting, though.
I was actually going to say the biggest thing I don't think Morphine could have done was hit all the marks.
I think what they're doing is a limited focus of a small stage with the cameras telling you exactly where to look. And musical theater acting has to be so that anybody in the audience can see you. So what a lot of these girls are doing is imitating elements that are not necessary to the staging environment that don't affect the judges. So they're going for musical theater, but that's sort of like saying, I want you to channel medieval times, and the only part that you bring is no running water. You have to think about the parts that matter.
I think Plasma's skill is she has done enough performing arts of all types that she can take direction very well and do the technical side of things. I don't think she did a ton here that was performance life-changing, but it was technical aspect stuff that you have to have done theater, you have to have shot on camera, you have to know what it takes to put on a show, basically. And that's what I ultimately think Morphine would have had trouble. I don't think the dancing itself would have been difficult. I think actually maybe Morphine might have done even better than Plasma did there. But knowing exactly the precise location on stage that you have to be at a certain time in order for the show to work, whether that is a stage show or a filmed show, that is a experience skill set that I believe Plasma has from her background. And I just think it's not that Morphine could never learn it. I believe she does not have it just from what she has been doing in her life.
I just don't think it's different than the people on SNL or even football players. It's knowing where your mark is and knowing how to cheat forward. It's not the same thing as knowing how to belt to the back row and how to enunciate clearly. 100%. One of my biggest things is I can't see these girls' mouths move. And so not single one of them seems to have taken an elocution lesson in their life. And like, that is killing me with some of these performances. I can't tell who knows the words to the lip syncs anymore because everybody is just going.
Some of that is cuts too. I think they do some really specific editing.
So, you know, I think this is a weird Snatch game as well, because this is coming at an awkward time for the girls. One of the things that we're really seeing is I think Plain Jane does get some favored treatment. But I think so does Plasma. And I think so does my precious Saphira. And I think kind of maybe so does Q. And then I sort of think, like I was saying, kind of there's all the other girls. And I don't know what they're doing with Nymphia. Can somebody please, one of the two of you who are so much better at long-term Drag Race. And Kevo, if you think you see the thing, please, somebody explain this to me. Because it feels like they know she's a winner, but they never would have picked her based on personality, and they let it show.
Jinx.
Listen.
Linda,
Listen, Linda. This was entertaining in a way that she was fully committed to the banana bit. Like when RuPaul literally said, "Did you really write down banana bit? Is that what you really wrote?" And she was like, "Yeah."
It's Johnny Bananas levels of hot.
It's Johnny Bananas crazy, which maybe that's her new boyfriend. Rumor.
Oh, I love that.
This. How do I phrase this? This was somebody who was committing to their branding in a way that is now potentially interfering with their standing in a competition. I don't. Is Jane Goodall an actual good Snatch game choice? I don't really know. I could someone with a lot more comfortability in improv and character impersonation do it? Potentially. I have no idea if this anything could be funny. It's depending on how you do it. I say that, but caveats. Boilerplate here of why certain things can't be funny. This was so fascinating because it felt like a train wreck, but it was entertaining still for the wrong reasons. I kind of actually felt the same way about Tsunami's Gold Tooth Fairy, where it wasn't funny because she was telling jokes, but there were moments of like the absurdity that I found funny. And I'm not saying I was laughing at them, but it was like, oh, this is absurd to me. This is hysterical. Like when Tsunami said bones, like, what do you keep digging for bones? Like truly like out of pocket hysterical, but like not with the intended effect. So, and Nymphia, they kind of, I think one of the actual times that someone gave good advice, RuPaul saying, you're so cerebral, it's kind of interfering a little bit with us getting to connect with you. And I kind of understand what Ru is trying to say. I haven't really had any problems connecting with Nymphia, but that's because I'm paying attention to everything as opposed to just Challenge and Runway. Seeing her laughing, how she jokes around, how she's kind of chaotic and a goblin, it's hysterical to me and it's very relatable. This episode showed that this was someone that they have their eye on, that they want to see go far, that they know is incredible. I mean, looking at just the drag package she brought for just the runways is been completely out of this world and phenomenal and just astounding. And she has the personality, she has the talent, she has the chops, but she's self-sufficing, if that makes sense, that is interfering with the idea of the brand of the show. As a winner, you have to be marketable. You have to represent this brand. And this was someone that production, I think, realized like this is a star. This is a gem. But she's very kooky and she's very weird. And sometimes that can get into the way of everything.
You know, I think part of it for me has to do with the fact that, like, she is that fucking talented. And, like, I don't know, maybe because we automatically assume everybody talented has all the talents, right? Like, that is something that's so funny. I love, let me go with somebody random that I think is I love Duncan Sheik, sure. He's a singer, a musician, a playwright, a very talented guy. He writes these really cool, very emotional musical songs. I love his work. I don't really want to see his art exhibit. Do I think he's an amazing artist? Yes. But do I think he must automatically be talented in all ways? No, that's an unreasonable thing to expect of anyone. So then you come to Drag Race, where you're expected to be an improv actor, you're expected to be a singer, a dancer, a model, an entrepreneur, TV, VCR repair, computer programming, electrician. What happened was I unplugged my headphones and needed a vamp for time. But I think for me, it's
you know what? It came across naturally though, so you're fine.
Oh, thank goodness. And for just 13 cents a day, you too can sponsor me and help me get better. But, you know, one of the things that I really loved about Nymphia's Jane Goodall is it kind of did, for me, inform what level of intelligence we're dealing with here. I just want to say that something that I can't help but notice is how often on shows like this, performers are willing to, I don't believe it's true, performers are willing to be like, I don't know what phones are. I'm like 17 and they're 30. And so like, I've never had anything but a cell phone. And like, no, you've obviously held a rotary phone in your life. You went to a public school, shut up. And
you saw one on TV. Something.
You've watched Friends, right? And so like too often people are willing to trivialize their own ability and their own intelligence. This Jane Goodall call is a real testament to that Nymphia is playing a strategic game. She really is acting like she doesn't know what's up and then adjusts. Whereas on the opposite side, I think Maya just being Trina's like crazy cousin is so brilliant in the same but opposite way. This was not conceived. This was not thought out in advance with months of planning how to do the makeup to look like an old woman and bring the little monkey thing so it ties into the bananas.
What'd you call me?
Well, you're my little monkey. But this was a beautiful woman being on the spot clever and contrasting Trina's cousin Shakira with Jane Goodall. You know, they're really, first of all, there's kind of like a Shakira kind of middle ground on Shakira and the monkey, because you know, Chiquita bananas, right? But the thing that I really took away from this was that Snatch Game is a point at which reveals a lot of your gameplay strategy, and it can even reveal kind of the weaknesses. I love what Jane did this episode. I don't love Jane as a performance personality, but my God, she was brilliant in this episode. Consequently, I did think that everybody was a little too hard on Plasma for her musical theater background. Like, you know, I think that they're like, oh, she just comes out here and she just goes, lady, and she kind of does, but then plain Jane just comes out and just goes, also Boston. Because she speaks Russian, but what she gives is performance Russian. What she gives is that iteration that homes in America think of a foreign superstar. She doesn't give us Russian culture by explaining to us the parts of who she is, the way a number of our Latina queens have danced in traditional garb and shown traditional dance to traditional music. She is aware of the world we live in and how this character has to fit into that archetype. I think this is the moment, though, that people need to start saying to her, okay, now do something other than the Russian accent. Because even if you're Russian, which you are, and I'm certainly never telling anybody to hide their culture, you are kind of presenting Russia and Boston, and your entire package is your childhood. And when Art Elisekis did it and called it Everclear, we eventually got over Father of Mine.
I was going to do Father of Mine.
So if it was still Santa Monica, it would have been no problem.
Also wonderful.
Okay, that's a good single. I like their first two albums a little bit more myself, but
It was on my Now album, I think. I think it was on Now 5, so.
well, then let's now 2024. What do you guys think about the fact that Plasma is getting called out on the same thing that Jane is kind of getting praised on in terms of this one idea iteration being showcased in so many spectacular ways?
So this is from everything on the show, the first time that Plane is using the idea of a Russian character. I think some of her drag might have been inspired by certain elements of Russia. I think really only the first reveal look where it was very Serbian, very this beautiful ice princess, and then Boston sports whore. It is, I think, also we have to remember what we see as the audience is a lot more comparative to what the judges see. Yes, production knows everything, and do the judges and everybody on the team kind of like have certain elements from production telling them what's going on? Yes, but they don't see everything. And us seeing Plane do a Russian shtick a lot more compared to the judges who, this is the first time she really utilized it for a challenge. She could have utilized it a lot more, and then I think a lot more credence would have. I think I would have felt like, yeah, I think it is a lot, and maybe to mix it up. I also
the thing is
think
because it's so much in the talking head interviews, and we just hear it so much, it's not affecting the judging. So it's sort of like the judges are getting a better edit of her than we are.
yes, where we might feel it's a lot of we're seeing this idea of this character a lot.
They've clocked the Russian accent literally every episode. Literally, the accent
judges
has been
are
every episode. Yeah.
And I think with Plasma, I think part of that boils down to the idea of a theater kid is really easy pickings to bully. And sometimes it's deserved, and other times no, it's not. No bullying is deserved. Boilerplate here. It's more of the fact that Dawn brought it up was fascinating because the barber role, well, that was the role she was given. You told her to do that role. And then her doing it on stage, well, yeah, that makes sense. Here in Snatch Game, I can maybe understand being like, okay, maybe. But I don't know. It's something of, I say this. This is who the queens are. And that's part of their character, it's part of their persona, and that's what they want to do. If that is who they are, let them do it. If it doesn't show as much versatility or range, whatever. That's their dilemma, really.
But isn't it theirs to be judged? Like, because TK, real quick, but aren't these the judges then? Aren't they the ones saying I like more of this or not?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point is when Dawn comes in and ribs Plasma about being a bit of a theater kid, I'm sort of like, whatever. If Dawn or Plasma makes it to the top 4 because Rue never cared about that, Dawn or Plasma's clearly doing fine. So it really is. I say do your thing until you're told
to mix it up.
Until somebody says. I mean, Michelle said, "I don't want to see those elf ears again." Dawn said, "I got you, girl," and then hit them.
She wore it twice.
And
Two
then she
runways.
hit them. Yeah.
Out of 7.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Michelle, they make Michelle jump. I keep saying, and this is like one of those bias things. I have decided that I just love Michelle so much and she would never do anything wrong. So whenever Michelle gives a bad judgment, I've decided the producers told her she had to say it. So when she's like, after 2 episodes, you've got to change up the ears. I'm like, why did production make Michelle say that? It's 100% Michelle's judgment, I'm sure. Anyway, nobody's complaining about Plasma's thing right now. I think they may start to. But again,
well, I was referring to the fact that all the other girls kept being like, I mean, you've got one thing, girl.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. If you're Plasma, say it all you like. I don't care because I want to challenge, and someone like Dawn, I want to challenge, and you haven't. So I don't super care if you think that I'm too theater. And if I can understand having self-doubt when your peers sort of start to come for you with that stuff. But at the end of the day, until Rue says, you've got to give me something else, I don't think it really matters. I will say I didn't love Patti LuPone. I didn't laugh at Patti LuPone. I thought it was elements of a really coherent impression, particularly the voice. You know, she had the kind of nasally, authoritative voice, but like, again, Patti LuPone's another one. There's like 3 different Watch What Happens with Andy Cohen where Patti LuPone just says the most out-of-pocket shitty stuff, how much she hates Madonna. You know, this could have been Tyra Banks hating Naomi Raja as Tyra Banks hating Naomi Campbell. She absolutely could have been Patti LuPone who can't shut up about how much she hates Madonna. And that would have been, even if, you know, because Nico, I think you, as somebody who knows Patti's personality a lot more, clocked that it's not a very good Patti, but one voice plus one character aspect that can be funny that you can kind of recycle, you're good to go. The fact that she didn't do that, to me, I was just like, this was to me maybe not even safe. But whatever. I mean, the judges thought she was safe. She's fine. If this is what she,
that is one thing I just want. She looks Patti. That is
yeah,
that
totally.
look is Patti top to bottom.
And between the voice, the look, and some amount of consistency, maybe that was enough this episode. I felt like I maybe only got marginally more out of Amelia Earhart. So I don't know. I mean, it was.
Well, and then on they talked about how it was the same voice as the brick, and I was like, oh, it is just the brick. So it's entertaining again until one of the judges says, "Don't do that again."
Right.
Keep doing it. I
think everybody has got Plasma is actually one of the best examples of somebody who I think dishes it out very well and takes it in the way that allows you to walk away with the most dignity, if not the most kind of screen time and tweets about you the next episode. The fact that she isn't having any kind of breakdown, isn't fighting back, isn't saying like, well, why don't you like my theater drag? She's just kind of just keep doing it until somebody in charge who's responsible for telling her whether or not she gets that check. When that person says, I don't like what you're doing or it's not good enough, then change it up. But I think she kind of is on the right track. And again, it doesn't even matter what we think about it.
Well, I mean, it matters what that's part of it though. Like, it matters what we think about it, or Mama gonna get no bookings.
Yeah, our audiences don't
matter.
Well,
that's another side of things. Yeah,
but that's the side I'm talking about. Like, what these judges say is what people repeat. And like, yes, there's times people come for the judging, but what 600 people on one Reddit thread say is not the 200 million viewers they're courting.
Right.
And so like sometimes it just takes a few CNN pundits saying Howard Dean went, yeah, to literally change the course of American democracy for the rest of time.
Right.
And so sometimes when they say it's okay to bully the theater kid, and when they say it's okay to make up a character if it's this thing and not make up a character if it's this thing, and if you're pretty enough, be a cunt, it's actually demeaning to society. And so like that's part of like why we have to interact about some of this and talk about, you know, the bigger picture of the culture.
And it's important to draw attention to that and talk about that because this is a entertainer and a program that does like to tout out the old classic, we care about you, and we cared about your mental health during the pandemic.
It's not the edit,
and
you spoke.
We're a community, and you can't pull out those vote and care about change signs at the end of every episode if you're also promoting bullying and toxic behavior and being cunty to vulnerable people for no reason. Then all of that kind of means nothing, doesn't it?
You either care about mental health or you care about ratings, but you can't claim to be both. So pick a side before you tell people that caring about people's mental health is being cruel to them, and instill things that aren't to the core of drag, instill things that aren't to the core of these girls. And that's the problem. When I say that I don't like Morphine's name, I don't like Morphine's name because I think the opioid epidemic is a huge problem in our country. I love Morphine as a character, as a performer, as an artist. She's beautiful. She is breathtaking. She is brilliant. And I'm so excited to see where she goes in the future. You know, anything we say on this show about the presentation of these girls is one thing. You know, if we talk about the things they say on social media, that's another thing. That's talking about the way they choose to present themselves. But who they are on this show, we're talking a whole lot more about what Magical Elves thinks than we are about these actual women. And part of what we're talking about is production's decision to present them this way. Not so much the girls, but rather how they're being made to look. And I think that is a really huge part of this conversation, because I think each one of these women stands for mental health. I even think Plain Jane legitimately would be the person that picked up the phone if you called her at 2 a.m. She might even be a little mean about it on the phone, but she'd pick up and she'd be there for you. You know, the thing that I don't like is when we prey on a person's weakest moments by showing that darkness on television and choose not to show the light. That is where you get into these sorts of situations where people think it's cool to come for Plain Jane online. I don't like her, but I'm not going to send her hate mail. And not because I don't have hate in my heart. I'm a human being. I got hate in my heart. I read the paper, but you know, the other side of it is these women are beautiful human beings. And like, I just sometimes worry about the way the show talks about them and how fandom reacts to the way the show depicts them. Because they're still people. And so that's where I'm coming from. I think they're all beautiful and I think they're all amazing. And it makes me a bad reviewer of the show, because that first week I can maybe pick 1 or 2 that I'm like, yeah, you can send them home. But then by week 8, the people that I was like, you could send home in week 1, Dion and Maya, I'm like, they were stars. So it's always so tough. How do you guys feel about our winner and our loser? We lost a storm of a human. And somebody pretty plain took home a pretty shiny crown. So how do you guys feel about our winners and losers?
I mean, we are getting to a point where you are either going to have a Valentina moment, which I was a little worried we were about to have for Nymphia, where you might be somebody that Rue thought would go all the way, that fans thought would go all the way. You have a bad night and you have a bad lip sync and then you go home. It's either those people or people who have through some law of averages, middling track record. Tsunami had never been in the top. She is always safe. And frankly, the other person in there is Dawn, who I love. I thought Dawn would be clear top 4 material.
Has Dawn never been in the top?
No, she has.
Oh, okay.
She's been in the top. She never won.
Fair. Oh, you're so right. So right.
I thought Dawn would be clear top 4 material. And, you know, for me, there are times where I thought if I was a judge, I would have said she won. But she, for my calculations of how things are looking, is somebody who is not long for this world based on who's left in the competition and how hard they come for challenges. There's a lot of ways which that could change. I think, you know, next challenge being a neo-goth challenge. Hey, Robbie.
It's our own Dawn.
Dawn needs to get a win, Robbie. I completely agree. I think she deserves to win. I think she should win. But if she doesn't, she is probably not long for this show. And so when we got to the end of Snatch Game, before we knew specifically who was safe, Tsunami was on my list of people that I thought she could definitely be going home tonight. Not because she isn't good. I adore her. I hate saying I'm so excited to see her on All Stars, but I think she would make a fantastic All Star. I think a year of touring and building up a fan base and, you know, being able to put even more time, effort, and money into this competition and understanding it better. She's one of those queens that will show up like her mother Candy Muse did and just really wow everybody. But yeah, I mean, for this competition, for these episodes that she's been here, she has literally never been able to stand at the top of the crowd. And we're now at a point where that means you probably are going to have to go home at some point relatively soon. So while it was a total bummer and I don't think it was unreasonable that she go, I will miss her, and I am kind of eyeing the other girls that I'm worried about. I personally thought Plain was a close second, but I really did think James Brown won. I just thought the energy was better. I thought they were both really funny. They were both as funny as each other. But I thought Saphira's energy was a lot bigger. Jane played a character that was a little more subtle, a little more standoffish, but that's not always going to work the best in Snatch Game. And for me, on camera with the edits, it just didn't work. Maybe in the room while they were doing it, it really worked for Rue and therefore really worked when it was getting judged. But to me, it was kind of by a small but noticeable margin. It was absolutely James Brown that won. And I was very surprised that it didn't go to Saphira.
For me,
Good.
I'll talk about the winner. I agree with the win. I would have agreed if Saphira won. I would have agreed if it was a double win. Like Q, if Maya won, I would have shit myself. But even then, I'll be like, listen, give it to her. This was a very telling moment for me, at least, at the crack of the Jane facade of, no, she actually is playing good. This was her reaction to winning was, I don't want to use the word oddly, but very emotional and real, very vulnerable. And
it's a bummer because so many girls were behind her and they will not have seen this face when we come in tomorrow or when we come in for next episode.
And I was like, and even in Untucked, when she said to Kira, I appreciate that you were very honest with your critiques because to me that says that you care. I think we're understanding the idea of who Plain Jane is overall as a person. Absolutely, Robbie, absolutely would stress. I think all of us out. It's even seasoned improvers, I think, would stress out. Where the way that Plain views caring about people, whether we agree with it or not, is being blunt and honest in a way of saying, these are where I think you can improve, and critiquing. Whether a lot of that comes from how she grew up, whether a lot of it comes down to just all the things that go into making a person, that is telling of how Plain Jane views caring about people, is being blunt, being honest, maybe being rude in some capacities, but saying, hey, you can improve. I know you can do better. This is where I think you can improve, whether it's unsolicited or not. I thought she did great. I thought she looked beautiful. I also thought it was very funny that Michelle was explaining Latin ballroom to the person who did Latin ballroom.
Yeah, I thought it was. I just want to hop on that as the.
Have you watched the show, Tamar?
As the poke in the problem guy, I did think everything she did this is Plain Jane's best episode. Contestants dream of having a Snatch Game like that and looking this beautiful when accepting their win.
Yeah,
it was really funny that she was like, "I am the Russian queen," and made the joke about Katya, watch out, and then was like, "No, I'm a Latin ballroom dancer," and I just wanted to be like, "Oh, what part of Latin America is Russia in?" Because in previous episodes, it was explained as she is a classically trained ballroom dancer, and the word Latin did not come up. So all of a sudden, it was Latin ballroom, and I was
Agreed.
like, "Oh, okay."
it was. I'm not sure everything, but it was just very funny, and the fact that
it was adorable. I was just being playful.
Yes, as the great contestant as she is, just smile and nodding at Michelle and not saying anything back. This was. I think this episode was a very interesting look into Plain psyche and to the overall character of Plain out of drag as a human being and how that translates to screen, stage, persona, everything. I truly love this lip sync. I think this was a really heartbreaking lip sync. But the fact that I think they both, even as Morphine put it, making the best out of a bad situation and trying to have as much fun, as sad as it is, sending the person that you're closest with home. I thought they both did great. I thought all their moments were sweet. I am going to deeply miss Tsunami. I love the way she speaks. I love her voice. She seems like just this
Talk
cool,
about Elite Four.
She's this really like super cool person that I wish we even got to see more of, because one of my favorite things is she'll do these Twitter threads as the season 16 cast as Pokemon, as Digimon, and they're one of my favorite things, obviously as a nerd, that she has this like nerdy side to her that I would have loved to have seen a lot more. I wish the show showed more of it. I wish that they did that, for everybody if they could. This was again, a hard elimination. I've come to realize that I think I really do enjoy this entire cast. So every elimination for me has been like, no, this person's gonna be mad. Like, damn, we're gonna miss this person. And
like picking toes, man. I don't want to get rid of any of them. Sure, there's some big ones, but I don't want to lose any of my toes.
No, don't take my toes. First you're coming for my feet, and now my toes. No,
Show feet.
no, no. I'm gonna really miss her. I'm gonna miss her energy, and she's also gorgeous. Like, that dress was gorgeous. Like they put the two most gorgeous people on the bottom as a dance for us. Like this. Oh my! Like, I just I'll get out of the way right now. This Morphine always, I think, has one of the most beautiful faces ever. I think she's such an insanely talented makeup artist. And somehow this episode, this was the most beautiful she's ever looked.
Ever.
It was so out of this world gorgeous. Like, and as was brought up on the pit stop, she probably looked even better in person. She looks that good on screen. Could you imagine what she looked like in person? I'd be like, well, I guess I'm just giving up. I literally would just give up.
It's one of those things where, like, you can see where there are certain, like, we're going to get to it in a minute when we get to Versus the World. But, like, when I look at Dion out of drag, I can see the very beautiful person she is out of drag, but, like, I can see the sculpture. I can see the perfection of the beat. You know what I mean? When I look at Scarlet Envy, it is the same thing. Out of drag, what a beautiful human. But, like, in drag, sculpted for the gods. And, like, it is, Kevo, what an incredible image. I really love that you picked that moment. Jonah, it was something that I remember the first time I saw, being like, Kevo, Jonah, I do not understand. Are lip syncs allowed to lip sync together? Can you? And you were like, yeah, good queens do. And, like, this is an example of where, like, nobody liked the first Top Gun because it was about Tom Cruise sliding in briefs. It was two dudes being gay at each other. And I think, the best lip syncs are two dudes being gay at each other. Whether they are beautiful women or beautiful men. I'm using dudes just to mean performers.
Gender neutral dude.
Gender neutral dude. The Kel definition, right? So I do want to say I have a particular affinity for Saphira, and I think the single most tragic, and I guess I can't come too hard at Morphine if I'm going to say that I think the single funniest moment in television history is James Brown having a psychotic break on CNN is literally my favorite television moment in history. It's that and Desperate Housewives Bang. Like, yes. And so James Brown is a character because the man James
It's
Brown,
funny when bad people fall down.
yes, that's
on.
the thing. Exactly. James Brown, the man, is one thing. James Brown, the performer, is a character. And I am such a huge Saphira fan. It is unbelievable. And if Kira Sedgwick told me I was muscular, girl, I'd fry up like Kevin Bacon too.
Not Kevin Bacon as well, but Kevin Bacon 2, the sequel.
Oh, and on that topic, I would just like to be clear. So Saphira, I don't know if you've heard, because I'm sure you pay attention, but sweetie, I'm going to be performing in April as Nico Action. But Mama, if you want, I will rebrand as Sophia Cristal Light, and I will be your drag son till the day I die. I hope you're okay with a lot of power suits. It's a very kind of like Ally McBeal, Laura Flynn Boyle, the practice out, very strong vibe. But
I imagine she's fine with the suits.
Oh my god. It is hard for me because, like, obviously I worship at the altar of women of color like Janet Jackson and Mariah Carey, these people who were never afraid to show how they are not going to be defined by culture's statement on who they are. And, the same for Tori Amos being, I don't know, Queen Fruit Fly. But Saphira, ma'am, whether or not you win, you are my winner of season 16. And I am just so... Oh, this was the best possible Snatch game for me. This replaced my previous number one of Shea Coulee as Flava Flav.
I also want to say real quick before I forget, I can't help noting that there is a leap day this year.
Kevo, I was just about to bring it up. Everybody, don't forget to worship and celebrate Leap Day Williams.
Don't forget to worship Saphira this Thursday for Leap Day.
Our Lady of Perpetual Drag Excellence. TK, what do you got? Do you have any final thoughts on winners, losers, Snatch gamery?
No, I mean, I think I said most of my piece. I mean, it was a good one. It was really solid. We're getting to a point where I think Snatch Game's got to change in a bigger capacity than doing the Love Boat version or
Family Feud next week on UK versus the World. Are you trying to hurt me?
right. Yeah, I mean, I think switching to something like maybe Hollywood Squares, let's
Ooh, yeah.
Hollywood Queers. We've got options here, but I think we're having this discussion about like are OCs okay, like what's an OC versus what's a celebrity that nobody knows, so you make it an OC. I think that means we're at a point in which it's time to do something a little different. But overall, I was happy.
Jonah, you are the guy who brought us to this, and I swear to God, until I saw it, I could never figure out why you thought that Eartha Kitt really cared about the thermostat. So, how did you feel all said and done? Final parting shots, 20 seconds, thoughts, Snatch Game, hit me.
Overall, pretty good Snatch Game. We as fandom need to reimagine what Snatch Game means, being it's just an improv challenge. You're just playing a Snatch Game. I think if you just remove the specific celebrity requirement, it's fine. It's just an improv challenge. Let it be that. Overall, really good Snatch Game. I still think it should have been a double win. Congrats to Plain Jane and Tsunami. I will absolutely miss you.
Miss. So for this is so stupid. Joni Mitchell had 2 albums, hits and misses. Hits, the album cover is her dead in the street having been hit by a car and is her greatest hits. And misses were her favorite singles that didn't chart, and it's her walking past the car just fine. So whenever I hear miss, that is like the first thing I go to in terms of diva. Whenever like, oh, this one missed, I'm like, yeah, well, Joni Mitchell walked away just fine. And I think Tsunami is going to walk away just fine. She has so much song in her heart. She is such an incredible queen. And her social media presence is one of the best. She knows her audience and she knows how to work them. I'm kind of surprised that Tsunami works the nerd crowd better than Megami does. Because in so many ways, Megami is very eager to be... You know what? And this is what it is. Megami, I think you're too humble to say that you are the Leslie Knope of this season. But you are so socially conscious. You are so aware of the world. You are so ready to make the change. You are a beautiful, elegant queen. But my dear, you cannot possibly be the Retta of the situation. You can't be that person who speaks to the very specific super fandom nerdy class, right? And I think in so many ways, Tsunami's Twitter posts have been that. So she will be missed like so few queens for their social media presence. Because like Chad has 6 followers. Speaking of Chad Michaels one more time, Chad has 6 followers. So, that's a reference to a ranker list that had Chad as the least followed winner of any American season of Drag Race ever.
Wow.
Yeah,
Chad's not one you follow. Chad's one you go see.
That was quite literally what the article
Fine.
said. So, all right, let's talk about queens you go see. Let's talk about some queens you got to go overseas to seize.
Well,
no, Kevo, what you got?
I was going to give my final thoughts first.
I am so sorry, Kevo. Usually you go and you're ready to go. You are producer extraordinaire. I certainly did not mean to silence your mic. Producer extraordinaire, what you got?
Just for that. I feel like this episode left me with 2 thoughts. The first one is, I think one of the ways in which I'm going to combat the morphine dilemma is I'm going to start calling her MLD, and so I'm also going to start calling Plain Jane PLJ.
My lovely diva.
Yeah, so I'm going to see how many. Yeah, I'm going to see how many queens I can acronym. All right, I'll let you out of the penalty box. But my other thought is, we have 8 queens left, and we've run through quite a few of the staple challenges. And so now I'm like, what's left? There's stuff. I'm not saying there's nothing, but I feel like we hit a lot of the biggest ones already. The Rusical is usually kept at more of a distance from Snatch Game, I feel. So like I don't know. I'm a little concerned about how the rest of this season is going to shape out with what we have remaining. But I like the queens we have remaining, so that's nice.
And I do just want to say that even if we had a different group of the first 16 of the first queens of season 16, I wouldn't think we were left with a bad group. It's we're one episode away from the halfway point. I will be really sad, although evidently 7 wouldn't be enough for some of these queens. That was a raunchy ass Untucked. That was some Corbin Fisher after dark shit. But I think any of this season, just like 15 and most of 14, I guess. These are some queens that no matter what top 8 you are left with, you are left with an incredible top 8. And I will personally be sad to see whoever we lose next week. It is scraping the bottom of the barrel for me at this point. Like, you can't find flaws to send them home. You're just nitpicking. I will miss them. I do not feel the same way about the season of UK versus the world, and I feel terrible about that. But I have my favorites, and then I have everybody else on the screen. I just want to share that, like, I didn't understand Bendela at first. The two men in the middle had to convince me that she actually is that kind. I literally said there is no human being that loving on the planet as, Bendela Creme in this world. And I had to really think about maybe a person can be that genuine and that honest, even in this situation. The Grand Dame might be the funniest person in the entire history of Drag Race ever. And I don't know what to do with that. The Grand Dame is a kind of funny and is elevating her season so much. Tia Coffee shouldn't even be a Drag Race performer anymore. She should just have her own morning show. She should help me wake up. Every single morning I would watch her. Whatever Marina wanted to do, I would follow her to. And Hannah. Specifically and Hannah, because I love my Down Under queens. While I think every other queen this season is very talented, production is treating Gothy Kendall like they want you to feel bad for her. They are not highlighting how talented she is, how brilliant she is, how funny she is, how beautiful she is. They're treating her like an also-ran. And I very much felt that way until this episode was Scarlett's Walk. I swear to God, they woke up and said, Mama, you're not the drama, you're the star. I have been waiting seasons to understand Scarlett like this. I see a beautiful, brilliant woman. I know, that was also something I appreciated. I see a beautiful, brilliant woman. I see a genius of talent. I have never been such a Scarlett Envy fan in my life. And this episode blew me away for Scarlett. Legit, blew me away. Anybody stop me from raving, because I'll just keep going. I'll go till I'm Scarlett. The fact that she used her degree and promoted the American educational system. Not that she promoted higher education, but that she said you can learn things, have a talent, go for the talent, and still find a way to use your education. That she was kind and supportive of her other teammates. That she thought of the overall process and spoke up for everyone. This, Scarlett, my dear, was your episode. This was a tour de force.
Oh, I thought she was pretty spectacular for a queen who, after season 11, I saw a lot of sentiment of, okay, we all really like Scarlett as a fandom. The show clearly likes her in the way that they treat her and her talking heads. They're gearing her up for an All-Stars win. Maybe she wasn't going to win season 11, but they're gearing up for All-Stars. And she gets an All-Star 6, and they kind of paid her dust. They did nothing for her.
Hey, Kennedy Davenported her.
And we were like, oh, does Rue not like her? It kind of sounds like Rue doesn't like her in the way that she treats her. And there's very theory. We're going to call it a conspiracy theory because there's no proof to it. And that's Rue's but it kind of does sometimes feel like Rue does not like this queen. Especially when she kind of said, you talking about your loving family made me uncomfortable. That's a boiled down the version of what the comment was, but it is very funny. That's what happened. And then the first episode where she was in the bottom, when I don't think the talent was that bad to be in the bottom.
Agreed.
really was kind of like, oh, here we go again. And we get to this episode, and they were very positive on her. They loved what she did. She looked gorgeous, and it was okay. They're seeing Scarlett. They're not that everybody is going to be treated. Not that she was treated poorly, but it feels like, okay, we're seeing you. We see the work that you did. You were amazing in this challenge. Congrats. Here's your reward. And I was so proud of her. I was so happy for her that if I felt like this was an episode where she was seen, especially because her win on season 11, a great shared win with Evie, but it was a shared win. And that can sometimes, some people will distract, like you didn't win solo. She got a great solo win here. And I was just, as a Scarlett fan, felt vindicated. And I also, I'm gonna the other top two, Tia. I was so happy for Tia. This is where I really felt like Tia would shine, because on season 2 of UK, a lot of people fell in love with the charm, the personality, the wit, everything about Tia.
But evidently, she was a tailpipe in a dress, according to the description from what's the current Diesel tailpipe? Oh, Alan Carr, right? He thought Tia Coffee was a tailpipe.
Tia Coffee or passenger walking front seat. I don't know. There's a joke. There's a car. Geneva car. Geneva car.
She's pulling up to the Starbucks to get her tea or coffee in the Alan Carr.
And the Alan Carr with Geneva car. Her cousin from Mexico. The personality, everything about the person, everything was there. Some of the outfits weren't maybe the best. Seeing somebody come back, still charismatic, still amazing, still hysterical, still funny. Again, it was a great episode for her. I was so happy. She looked absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And I will say, I do agree. I agree with this top two. I do think this challenge was bizarre because they were like, it was like, this is a branding challenge, and it's, what do you mean this is a branding challenge? This is making a fake advertisement for RuPaul's World, which is a parody of Westworld, to get the idea of like what it's like to be on drag. And like, what does that have to do with their brand? It doesn't make sense. Nothing about this it made sense. But I think the top two were correct. I don't know if I fully vibe with the bottom two. I thought maybe I will say, in John Burr's defense, having a lot less time to really think, did I nail that take? Do I want to take another? Absolutely does affect you. RuPaul saying to her, that doesn't mean anything. No, Ru. No. Because everybody...
No, Ru. That's not quite the truth.
That bugs me too.
Say what you want of, like, you should be able to, not everybody can do it in one take. That is a very hard thing to do. I also thought this shot at the bottom two was hysterical. That you see Teresa as Marge in the background. Amazing. But this was a weird challenge that I still don't fully quite understand, but I enjoyed. I loved. I also didn't fully get some of the critique. They were like, we couldn't understand what you're saying, but I thought that was part of the humor of Legrand doing the very like heavy and deep French accent for Jean-Paul Gaultier and Karl Lagerfeld.
Karl Lagerfeld, which, by the way, any good gay worth their weight in gold would know that the only reference you ever need to make for Karl Lagerfeld is, I am fanning the flames of my faggotry.
Oh, Madeline Kahn, full circle.
That's good.
Yes.
This episode was the challenge was weird, but I really felt really vindicated. I don't know if I really fully connected with John Burr's this run. I don't know. It is what it is. She'll be missed. I think she's gorgeous. I've loved a lot of the outfits that she's brought, except maybe the first challenge. I personally didn't vibe with it, but I think she's a great queen. And the first UK exit.
Which I was shocked. I really thought they were going to hold that down for longer and make sure that they had like a controlling, kind of like not mess up, not lose control of the situation.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Two things about that. One, I think Jombers being eliminated was the biggest shot because just the previous episode, Scarlett was talking about how she's like, I'll eliminate the biggest competition, I don't care. And you have somebody who has a challenge win, and Kita, who is a threat, at least to the larger the competition at whole, as we've seen. Not to say that Jombers couldn't be a threat. And the other thing, oh my god, it was Kim Petras. Oh my god, it was Kim Petras looking like the fairy godmother from Shrek. She looked so good. I did not like this lip sync song choice. I think this is a very weird song because it has a weird tempo to it. It's not slow enough to be ballady, and it's not fast enough to do yakety cat cat cow 8 count.
Can I tell you how I feel that way about, like, okay, not to be a musician for 3 seconds. When did we decide that the only tempo was 118 with a smooth roll on the 1 and 3? There are very few songwriters, and these 3 men will tell you there are very few songwriters on the planet I respect. Like, I respect Kim Petras.
That's my queen.
But to agree with Jonah, Kim Petras was my number 1 on SoundCloud, my number 1 on Spotify, and my number 3 on YouTube Music last year. This is one of my bottom 5 Kim Petras singles. And this is a woman who has released an awkward number of singles.
I would have done
on the
alone.
radio 3 times.
I guarantee you the price on this one was premium.
It was extraordinarily expensive. My gym plays this, so straight men think she's hot in this song. Like, ugh, I don't even know what to think. Straight men never like women in dance music. It is a specific thing, like where like the women in dance music are always kind of like treated as also rans, like Martha Wash, where the idea of the female dance music person, like how many men do you know are like Ellie Goulding? What a knockout. You know what I mean?
You don't think there's any kind of like premium or reciprocity on if the artist is there themselves that they wouldn't want their best song played?
Oh my God, if she wanted her best song,
they
she would have had 100 other songs.
In a lot of cases, they don't have control over what
song you get.
What you can afford. And my point was I think this was a really cheap song.
I thought this would be really expensive
because Problematique never came out. Well, I mean, technically it did, but they didn't release it like they were supposed to.
Oh my God! Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Problematique was supposed to come out before
this one,
Feed the Beast.
Yeah.
And this was a single on Problematique, and they shelved it. They just were like, yeah, we're shelving it. It got leaked. She had already cut all the tracks for Feed the Beast. Feed the Beast came out, and they just put out Problematique, but it didn't. It had no. So anyway, I guarantee you this was a really cheap song. And like I would have chosen Coconuts.
That would have been great.
Because they just did it on All Stars 8.
Did they?
Yes, it was Raja versus Jessica. And then Jessica starts off,
That's
coconut,
right.
and the red look.
Oh my God, yes.
That's right. I completely forgot. So yeah, they don't have a ton of options. I mean,
like Alone. I think Alone would be a great lip sync song.
Hard to break.
I was going to say they've still not done a lot of stuff from the bubblegum pop era that I think would have been really fun.
Season 12, Nikki Doll versus Heidi in Closet.
Oh my God, and it's even a
Episode
queen I love,
5.
Helen Bailey.
I mean, I was going to say There Will Be Blood or Close Your Eyes. Close Your Eyes, Naomi used to do on tour.
What was it? Give me.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, yep. That's a filthy song. That would,
oh my God,
that would
do we
have been.
just want to stop
also,
our show and make it just a Kim Petras podcast?
That's also such a slow song.
I've been waiting my entire life for us to just do a Kim Petras podcast.
Done. Burr or Icy would have been great. Anyway, like there's options.
If you wanted like a tamer song, Malibu.
Yeah, Malibu actually would have been great. It's really too bad that Slut Pop Miami.
The international audience would have never gone for Malibu.
It's really too bad that Slut Pop Miami had not come out yet because there's a few things from that.
Whalecock.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say Banana Boat because most of it they couldn't have gotten away with, and Banana Boat I think would have been totally fine.
How far in advance was this film that wouldn't have been out yet?
Well, it just came out last week, so
it's been online for a while.
This was filmed last year.
Yeah. So they
Okay.
could have done songs off Slut Pop, but Slut Pop doesn't really have any. Slut Pop Miami weirdly has a few songs that I think would have worked, and I couldn't think of any off of the original Slut Pop. Anyway, Megan Trainor just posted a video of her next song, and I saw the funniest Twitter comment, which is, "This is just Slut Pop Boca Raton."
Megan Trainor is doing this out of control Broadway performance with like Christina Perri and like a number of other people.
Well, that's
So-
going very well with her out of control Ozempic use. So,
Well, Megan Trainor is about to either prove her vocal talent after all of these years live, or we're going to have some really great Fergie doing the national anthem memes.
I think she actually can sing live. I
Yeah.
think she can't write
She is
more than 3 types of songs. And stop bringing Chris Olsen everywhere.
Is that
Anyway.
is that her Spy Kids husband?
That
No,
no,
that's-
it's the gay that follows her around everywhere.
I thought that was
Um,
Pentatonic.
Oh yeah, that guy.
No,
who looks
that
like the guy
that
from
gay, the
Lincoln
Pentatonic's gay, she can keep because he actually has a talent.
Oh my
Chris
god, the
Olsen,
whistle register is the most beautiful man's whistle register of all time.
Chris Olsen is just a
love you,
TikToker who
Mitch.
has 0 talent whatsoever. He does not do
Chris-
anything.
Olsen looks like Wes from Six Scream 6. The kid from 13 Reasons Why. He looks like a
Yeah,
gay
yes, he
Joey
does.
version.
Yes, that is
Um,
correct.
Dylan Marionette or whatever.
Do you
his
guys
name is.
remember when this was a drag race episode? We were
No, I do not.
associating Kim
Well,
Petras?
To bring us back to Drag Race, you mentioned
Please.
Fergie. So if Megan Trainor is going to copy Fergie, then I hope she pisses herself. And that brings us back to piss. So,
Piss.
like a dog.
Hanaconda, let's talk about you.
Robbed of a top spot.
Robbed, truly robbed. I am a huge Hanaconda fan. I thought that one of the most adorable things was last week when I forget who she was talking to, and she was like, "My nickname's Little Hands." I can't do an Australian accent, God help me. And they were like, "Oh, like your dick?" And she was like, "No, that's why I'm Hanaconda." She is truer. I don't care. It's the sharpness. She's so ready. She's got to come back. She's so smart. She's lovely. I love that she is not the type of body you automatically associate with being a beauty queen, but I think sometimes she can do beautiful better than almost any girl on this season. I love Hannah, and that is such a great opportunity for us to talk about the fact for one moment that a one Ms. Michelle Visage, that is, of course, of the Bodyguard soundtrack, is going to be taking over Down Under, which is the most exciting thing since they announced Crocodile Dundee 2. But now I'm concerned this is going to turn out like Crocodile Dundee 2. How do you guys feel? I'm really positive on it. Growing up, I was so gay that at dinner we would watch the RuPaul talk show. So I know how good Michelle can be. I've seen her since I am literally like 10 years old. I grew up a humongous fan of hers. The 3 things they used to get me to watch this show were Chad, Trixie, and Michelle. So I'm really ready for it. I think she is a host. But, people think about the New York Toys R Us before they think about the New York FAO Schwartz. Even though if you're asking me, what is the pinnacle of sort of like love story, New York kind of magic, it's FAO Schwartz. So how do you guys...
And even though the Times Square Toys R Us was torn down literally a decade ago and doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, do you know how
You're
many
not
often
wrong.
people will
They
literally
still
be like,
think of
"Oh my
it.
god, I'm going to check it out," and I'm like,
Yes.
"Your time machine?"
Yeah, exactly. No, people do still think of it, even though it is gone. So you're even speaking to how iconic something can be. Even when it's
Even when
gone,
it's
it can
gone.
still... Exactly.
And that is Rue. She will forever define that identity. How do you guys feel about this news that Michelle, a woman who is so ready for her time in the spotlight, is finally getting the respect she deserves? Hey, Jersey girl, I see you.
I mean, it's something I said to you when we were texting about it, which is like, this has been so long coming and it's taken so long to get here. There is a big part of me that thinks this is not going to be the kind of explosive tipping point I would prefer, where it's like once that domino that needed to fall falls, her whole thing expands and we start seeing her everywhere that we want to. I do think she'll do this, but Down Under is kind of one of the more low-key ones. It doesn't have as many moments. It doesn't have as many famous queens. I don't know that we're at a place where we're going to be seeing Michelle Visage's Drag Race in a year. But I like to see her taking this next step. I mean, the thing that I always point to is that I remember when UK was going to be just Michelle Visage. Rue wasn't going to do it. It was going to be her thing. She is a huge Anglophile and really wanted to go across the pond and kind of spread the brand. And it took years of working things out for Drag Race UK to happen at all. And then when it finally did, it needed to have RuPaul's name on it, which makes total sense to me. But then at that point, Michelle was doing Celebrity Big Brother over there. She did Strictly Come Dancing. I think maybe she was a judge on Ireland's Got Talent. Is that right?
Now she's over there doing Addams Family.
Family. So like these are all little things, and they're all great. Like I'm so happy for her. I'm ready for like the Michelle Visage talk show. Like I'm ready for her to be headlining her own thing. Drag Race Down Under is definitely a great start. But like if she did that one season and then announced something huge, I would be so happy. I think it's going to be more like 3 or 4 more little-ish things over the course of the next 5 years before something hits where we're like, bam, she is now fully in her power era.
Okay, so Michelle Visage is Miles Morales. Got it. So let's go to our own Miles Morales. Jonah, how do you feel about Michelle stepping into the stage she always deserved? I agree with TK. It is not enough and it is way too late, but it could hopefully go into what is her rightful place in this franchise. How do you feel?
Well, her rightful place is RuPaul's White Shadow. That's number 1. Nah, just say that with love. Number 2, no, I really like this.
As somebody who wants to be her White Shadow, I think that's great.
Not since Destiny's Child has a Michelle written the coattails of someone more famous than her. To quote Peppermint from season 9, I really no. I really think this is big for Michelle, but I also think it's big for the show. I really respect that they're giving her license to kind of hold her chops. I love What You Packin'. I love when Michelle kind of gets to sit down and kiki with the girls, and obviously not gonna be the same energy, but I know Michelle can absolutely hold her own as the host, as the solo. She doesn't need RuPaul there to be gorgeous, stunning, charming, hilarious, all the things we love about Michelle. Is shady, caring, motherly. She's mother.
Jewish and Italian.
There's 2 things I love about this. One, I really love that the brand is recognizing Michelle for who she is and saying, no, we trust you. You can do this. And 2, officially on Down Under, I hope that means we get another permanent guest judge who is, New Zealand, from New Zealand or from Australia, to help bridge the cultural differences that American audiences or UK audiences or Canadian audiences or, audiences around the world, to help understand a lot more of the nuances, the joke, the culture that our Down Under friends have that we might not have over here.
I want Danny Minogue.
Also, and to help judge them a little bit better, because there are times where I'm like, I don't think RuPaul understands why this might be funny to somebody from the Down Under, the Oceanic area. And not to say Michelle does, but I think Michelle's a little more worldly in certain aspects. Yes.
She's from New Jersey. She understands that if she doesn't look into it, she's going to sound dumb.
I think about this. I have multiple Roman empires. This is one of them. Michelle just leaning up going, Miss Vanjie. And RuPaul literally laughing so hard going, you better stop. While she's laughing.
There is a special...
Oh,
Kevo, by all means.
That's yours. This outfit is mine.
Oh, you better work.
Chance across the board.
When 2 people are such good friends that the way they interact literally brings a you're making me break smile. And I don't mean like, there are certain people I could never be in a room with. I don't care what Kate McKinnon said. I'd piss my pants. It would be so funny. I'd never recover. Fine. Bowen Yang, same thing. I would literally not be able to hold it together. I don't care if he just said, "Oh, I watched Gilmore Girls yesterday." I would just be like, "That is the funniest thing." There is something about when someone is funny, it makes you laugh, 1000%. But when someone knows the joke that would only make you laugh, something that I have seen over these last couple of seasons in particular, more than the early seasons that had Michelle. Michelle knows the words that make Rue feel at ease. There is something about the way she soothes and comforts Rue that I feel like part of what Michelle has always seen as her job is to make other celebrities look beautiful. And she's done it while looking, I think, the most stunning in the room, but she's always let herself be portrayed as second most stunning. Kevo, you are the producer. You literally cover yourself with our Chiron so that there can be room for everything on air. Oh, Queen! And
Mark fan favorite.
I just want to say that, one of the things I think is so important is when somebody does want to be the loud, bombastic one, when somebody wants to say JK, though, it is only effective when somebody chooses to support them. As somebody who has long prided yourself on being an excellent Michelle Visage, how do you feel about seeing her move to that central position as the host of the show?
Well, knowing that she wanted UK and just like the unfortunate metaphor of being shipped off to Australia instead, I just hope this is what she wanted and this isn't like a punishment.
Oh my God, Rawway Prison. I'm looking at you.
Not to conspiracy theory or anything. But no, I'm excited. I think this is really interesting. I think the fact that Mama was so sick at the top of this season of UK versus the World is kind of a prime example of why she needs to relax. She needs to let other people help. And so this is a great one, especially since it's literally on the other side of the planet. So I'm excited. It's starting with the next one, right? So it'll be the next season we cover over the summer or whatever.
Yes. I really love your perspective. Exciting. Just to point out that, RuPaul was around when Yvonne DiCarlo was popular. So, she is literally I swear to God, if you're not old enough to know who Yvonne DiCarlo is, you should really be a little more aware of Canadian 1940s jazz. But as somebody who would know who that was, Rue is reaching a point where it's maybe just not realistic to have her jet setting around the world. We're talking about UK versus the world, and we keep making a lot of jokes. And please, nobody in the comments talk about Global All-Stars. We are purposely staying Global All-Stars spoiler free as a series. But, talking about...
Oh, is now a good time to reveal the cast?
Now is a great time. The cast of Global All-Stars includes Muttley.
It's all Michelle Visage.
It is basically Michelle Visage hosting Wacky Races, but also we're going to throw in some Republicans so it can be wacky racists. I think the thing that we are looking at is a globalization of the Drag Race brand, and when you elevate something to a global level, I'm serious. What if they said that Drag Race had always been the American Drag Olympics? And now Drag Race was going to be the Global Drag Olympics. Doesn't it only make sense that you only use Rue for the most special things? Mama 70, she is a beautiful, incredible queen who I remember when Rue and I were talking the day Heart of Darkness came out.
63.
The day Heart of Darkness came out in 1913. And I really feel like one of the things that we're seeing is the weight of a brand sitting on someone's shoulders. And I mean this very honestly, not since Stan Lee has somebody carried the weight of an industry that they aren't wholly responsible for, that stretches back hundreds of years before them, that is an art form, not a genre. Not since Stan Lee has somebody stood for an art form the way RuPaul has said, I will take all of your opinions on drag, I will internalize them, I will cinch my motherfucking beautiful waist, and I will lip sync my own goddamn songs. And, you know, when Stanley was cinching his waist with June and when his beautiful daughter was running through the lip syncs with him, I feel like he felt like this, and he was just hoping that a Michelle Visage, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko was ready to take the reins. I think it just makes sense that Rue is retiring to the grander stage than worrying herself with the smaller stages along the way. You know, I'm not here to shit on Second City, but we all understand that the Groundlings is where it's at.
I feel like even retiring is such a dramatic word to use, and I know you were just using it loosely, but I mean for those who are viewing it more dramatically as some kind of extreme retirement, it's okay for her not to do everything. Like, really, truly. I didn't realize she actually is 63. She's literally almost exactly 10 months younger than my mom would have been. Like,
yeah, I
that's
said 70
not,
being mean-spirited, but holy shit.
no, that's not nothing. And, you know, I think some I say a lot is I think we forget because people are living to be like in their 90s and being 100 like Betty White, but like that's not spring chicken. And, you know, you get to being 90 by taking care of yourself.
I mean, she's also very particular and she's wealthy. She does not necessarily need to do it. But this show began with the idea that this was RuPaul's Drag Race and the buck stops with Ru. The final decision is mine to make. And this is something that I've said, you know, multiple times before. I don't really, that is the brand and that is the phrasing. But I do believe that while she takes the responsibility of the hate that she will get for decisions and the praise, you know, she has producers saying this girl isn't good for long-term storytelling. And it might be a girl that she would otherwise judge as competent to stay. This season feels like we're seeing a lot of those where it's just like, looking at the what happened on stage, I'm very surprised that the judgment is that girl went home. But there's a lot of stuff we don't see behind the stage, and there are writers, and there are story producers, and there are other people in Rue's ear, even if she is the one taking responsibility for the final decision and announcing who leaves and saying, I'm the one who made that decision. If you're going to be mad at somebody, be mad at me. My only thing is, when we were like seasons 1 through 8, that was, I think nobody really realized like this could become the enormous phenomenon that it is and get to a point where people would want more content than one person could travel around the world to give. So, or that it would go on this long, or that it would be this much of a global phenomenon. So we're now at a point where I just sort of wonder how, I think you have to make a really big, bold gesture to retire this idea that the RuPaul brand is always decided by RuPaul, because you do need to get to a point where you can say, you know, I'm retiring from X many things, but this person or this panel that I have convened to now do the hosting duties as they do in Canada are my equals, and it's okay that they're doing it. How do you transition from it's RuPaul's Drag Race because all the final decisions are Ru's to it's RuPaul's Drag Race because she started all of this? And I think until we start seeing the first signs of that, it's another thing that I think is not going to be one day explosion, the whole brand changes. It's going to be slowly over time. So the first thing really might be that she's no longer going as far as Australia to do judging anymore. And that's a safe decision because that's not a big brand. It wasn't doing huge viewership numbers. And I think people like Canada, people locally will watch it just as much, and it won't really affect the numbers for people that aren't local, whether or not she's there. And I think it's going to take little things like that over the course of a number of years to sort of ease us into this idea that it's no longer RuPaul's final decision Drag Race and more the vision that RuPaul started Drag Race.
RuPaul's corporate Drag Race. May the best interest win for the company who has stockholders and needs to do some good business by the end of the quarter.
Wow!
Woo! Drag! Jonah, how do you feel?
No, I think I agree, and it's not. RuPaul might be older, but she's not. She's nowhere near done. We still got plenty of good years for us to have her, but I do agree with a lot of the sentiment of it's okay to let her take a little bit of a break, let her relax just a little bit, and really kind of like just pass off just a little, just so you're not so I'm thinking about it. She does
As a treat.
a little treat between UK, American Drag Race, Australian Drag Race, Down Under. She hosts three of the franchises, and it's a lot of travel. She's there for a couple of weeks each time. It's a lot of looks. It's a lot of time to just be in drag and recording to be on. A little bit of a vacation never hurt anybody.
And it's not even a vacation. It's a reallocation of her ability. We're not just talking about the fact that Drag Race is staying the same and Rue is just kind of retreating into her closet. No, Drag Race is continuing to grow and continuing to evolve. And who Rue is as a queen is continuing to understand her importance. At one point, the Avatar was trapped in an iceberg, and then he became the Avatar. And then we got Korra. I'm making a silly joke promoting yesterday's amazing episode about the incredible Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender series, but also pointing out it's a dynasty. This is dynastic. When the Clintons became dynastic, America shuddered. But when RuPaul became dynastic, everybody got real excited for Michelle Visage. So I'm really hoping that this can lead to some positivity for the brand, because I'll be honest, there are people that watch this despite Rue. And for those people, this could herald a really exciting era of not just Drag Race content, but drag for the international audience. And no matter which side of this you're on, I hope you get something you appreciate from the next season of Down Under.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's be slutty about something really stupid for like a minute. There are hot men, and then there are... Oh, please.
Sorry, before we finish this up, are we not talking about the spoiler that a lot of people got?
I can't unthink about it because it affects how I see the next episode of Traitors.
Right. So,
but I refuse to spoil it for people who aren't Traitors Reddit junkies.
Okay, so we are not saying specifically what happened, just our feelings on it.
Correct.
Got it. Great, thank you. Go on with your hot man monologue. Let's let Britta finish her awkward song.
Wait, are you guys using my name to mean hosting a show terribly? So the thing that I am most excited about is that this season of The Traitors, compared to season 1, which we have seen in its entirety, season 1 of The Traitors was about making a show. Season 2 of The Traitors is about making fame. This is not about producing a really great season of television. This is about producing a number of train wrecks and then forcing them to collide. This is really setting people up to be their own worst enemies every single turn. And for that reason, I just want to thank Phaedra Parks for being perhaps the smartest person in the history of television, while every one of these beautiful dumb himbos has sacrificed themselves to her chopping block. Kevin, what a beautiful, gorgeous man. Dan, whether he's looking at you and the floor or looking at you in the ceiling, as a guy whose eye goes wonk in every direction myself, I still think it is really sexy. That is just, I relate to Dan a lot as somebody who people are like, where are you looking? And I'm like, everywhere. I genuinely think he is a really great example of a man who shows the years on his face. That is a really handsome face to me. Oh my God, you guys, can we just talk about how tired CT looks? I feel like CT had a child the day he walked into the Traitors. And this is literally day by day showing the pains of parenthood on his face.
Now with the baby.
Yes, he is a cool guy. He is an amazing competitor. He has had more shows than almost anybody on here. But CT really, this is an example of where, like, I'm seeing a man be aged by a show in a way that makes me Barbara Bush white hair uncomfortable. I don't know that CT, a man who is built for being himself and built for competition, was designed for a competition where the best thing you can be is not yourself. I know that Alan has spoken extensively, and that's my good buddy, Alan Cummings, brother of Jim Cummings. Alan Cummings, no, he is not, has said that each one of these producers, each one of these characters, performers, actors, contestants, right? Finally got to the word, has a mental well-being producer associated with their story who looks out for them. I am genuinely worried about CT. The guy is literally showing daily exhaustion. This was a great episode, but this was an episode that I feel like pushed some people past the point of healthy. Traders may be a great show, but I am beginning to worry about what it's doing to the people.
Yeah, CT's looking a little rough.
It's haggard. He is looking like this is really beating his soul.
Yeah. That was like half the screen caps I took of this episode were of just CT looking a hot mess. But he and John seem like the two most likely to stay. Yep, this
number one, he looks here like he is an extra in Gotham by Gaslight. Number one. Number two.
Everybody's making such weird faces.
John, you're going to bring up John, the most indestructible British man ever? No one has been this hardy from the British stock since George Washington.
Especially while wearing that shirt. No, but John and CT are the ones to beat. Truly. It's going to get to a point where you're going to, I mean, like, they are going to be the final two faithful standing. So as haggard as CT looks, and he does.
Cherie is also in the shot, but they keep forgetting to film her.
Yeah, she's the third to last to go. It took me a hot minute to get one of Cherie because she is so, and then she's always just like,
oh, there she is. I was like, which one is she in? I couldn't even find it at first because she's so like beige and blending in with the wall.
Yeah.
First of all, that jacket, my dear, if you just want to call me and let me know you bought that beautiful blazer, I think I would look really handsome in that sweater blazer. Number one. But number two, what a criminal underuse of a person who every time she talks, it's enjoyable, if nothing else. Like, I don't think she's always the funniest person on the show, but like, did she purposely not give anything, or did she sing Disney songs in every Talking Heads interview and they just couldn't use them? Because like, this is a person who seems to have nothing to say, and when she speaks, she seems to have the world to say.
I mean, she has the world to say, but she's very focused and serious, where like Phaedra is very focused and unserious, and that makes for great television. I think that's the problem, is she is very seriously like, this is, if you're not, I mean, she's very focused playing the game, but if you're not going to give us this, you're not going to get screen time. They really chose the best possible person to be a traitor. And Dan was only picked to have somebody to play off of her. It really is her game. And Nico, as you and I talked about, I think there's a whole edit of this show that is just MJ's The Traitors.
100%. It is literally MJ's The World in My Castle, and it is a totally unrelated program.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get that, but I
love her.
She's just like Kathy Najimy in a wig, doing a bit about somebody that has both too much and absolutely no situational awareness.
And so much to say about nothing going
Nothing
on
at
around
all.
her.
Yep.
1,000%.
I'm also really excited for us to get to talking about the world's most bored trader.
Yep.
This
This was another one I picked really specifically. Just eyes out in the distance, could not care less about what is happening here.
is Kate
on
the person in television history?
Day one of being a trader, and is
Yep.
already like,
It's just completely
send me home.
thinking about her dunks order when she gets back to the States.
I think very few people give My Life Happens, whether it's on camera or not, exactly the same way, energy the way Kate does.
Yeah.
I do not believe for a minute. I do not believe for a minute that when she walks into Macy's, she is any 1% a different woman. She walks up to that counter and explains that she needs a personal shopper in the exact same voice that she says she is tired of being a trader at the next breakfast already.
Here's the thing, she doesn't hide her good moments either. There are plenty of times where she has perfectly lovely interactions with people. So you can see where she goes out in the world and acts like a normal person too. But then, there's also the barrel tossing. It's all in there.
Jonah, I have so enjoyed traderizing with you. It has been really fascinating because, as a rule, we watch reality shows about talent, about ability, about constitution of self. And what is this about? It's about making some good ratings and giving Alan Cumming an opportunity to wear his tartan. So how do you feel about Kate not just accepting becoming a traitor, but kind of doing it like she really doesn't care?
So this, I feel for Kate, because here's the thing. Phaedra, I think, has had an amazing social game until Dan kind of ruined everything. But Phaedra, as a traitor, she's not doing enough. She's not making enough moves.
Actually, she's doing so much because you don't do enough.
I'm doing too much because you're doing too little. I think, was kind of thrown when she had her game kind of spoiled a little bit. And she hasn't really managed to recover in a way because she doesn't seem to know what the big moves to make are. Kate asked her, so what's the plan? She was like, well, and Phaedra was like, well, I thought you might have something. And Kate was like, what are you? You've been a traitor this entire time. You don't have a plan? It was very telling that Phaedra was ready to let Dan and Poverty do all the dirty work. But then when it came to like actually having to make her own choices, was a little,
oh God, not my burgie.
Not my burgalicious. I think she was struggling. I will say I did again. Do not like Trishelle. The fact that she was like, but like you didn't because you wanted to kill me, and I was the only person there on the bottom. And it's no, Trishelle. Yours was the easiest to hit. Also, I need to sidetrack. She as soon as Poverty left, she was like, "Oh, I get to wear the headbands now.
Headbands are my thing now.
It's
I
mine."
Are they actually Parvati's headbands? Like
They
are.
look like
hope
them.
so.
But Jonah, I'm checking you on that a little bit, only because.
Oh, wait, you think that she was going to start wearing the headbands competitively for headband superiority if Parvati hadn't left?
Phaedra says specifically that she's going down to go take out Trishelle's. Like, it was not. Trishelle doesn't know that. Trishelle is a little bit insane, but it is a decision. It was. Like, it happens that Trishelle is not wrong, and you can see that Phaedra could have made another decision. So ultimately, like, there is something there. Trishelle is shockingly playing a better game than I would think, given the fact that I think she has to have been what somebody had in mind in the 30 Rock writers room when they coined the term sex idiot. She truly smooth brain, head empty, no thoughts, except I guess a bunch of thoughts because she's killing it.
And you know
With
what?
a whole notebook.
part of what has me actually, Kevo, I'm so glad you brought up the Notebook. Not since Britney Spears revealed that she was a candidate for the Notebook has somebody's interest in jotting down their journaling had me so raptured. One of the things that has me very aware right now is nobody starts journaling suddenly. You write down your thoughts, and then you get to journaling. You get to notebooking. You guys, do you think that Trishelle has a murder board at home?
Well, here's the thing. One of the interviews that I've read that have come out, one of the things they talk about is that's one of the things they're given is a little notebook to take notes. But I feel like it is interesting to me that this is the first time that I feel like anything in reference to that is flashing in front of me the entire time we've been watching this show.
Especially because she
and
talks
how
about it
hard-
like it's her original idea to do a
Yes.
notebook. Nobody else is like, oh, I use my notebook too.
And when I watched any amount of the Real World Las Vegas, if you had told me that someday the biggest homework dork was going to be Trishelle,
Yeah, 100%.
I would have said no, that's not possible.
I would have said I'm not sure she can read or write.
Hey,
yeah.
hey. She's from the real world, not Glee. Where she's from, people have to know how to read and sign their contracts. Their boyfriends don't make their Twitters for them.
She is kind of like if you combined Rachel with Brittany, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yep, 100%.
The other thing that Trishelle really offered to this episode that is actually really unique is she really represented what a person might feel like if they weren't taken seriously until much later in the game. On Drag Race, when somebody busts out a talent in the 6th week, it's like producer manipulation. I don't know that you could have made Trishelle seem as what in some of those situations if she hadn't been, whether that's gameplay or just like, I am also very flighty. There are times where people are like, I've been talking to you for 7 minutes. Have you heard a fucking word I said? And I'm like,
Who are you?
can I just talk to you about the outfit I was thinking about putting on for a minute first? And then like, I
No.
get to it. But like, I really identify with Trishelle always having that sort of like
What?
look in every room because I always have that look. I think she represented a strong number of underappreciated women, and maybe not just women. Maybe there are men who really relate to her as well. But I think there is something to be said for the smart woman who chooses not to be smart because there is no benefit to being a smart woman in this world. Smart women are always treated like they're dumber than smart men and are treated like less than women who don't try to say they're smart because we automatically tear down somebody in this society who tries. I think Trishelle tried to be the sleeper agent. I think she really tried to say there's a flower in the vase and at the last second pull out some unbelievable shit.
Especially after her opening gamut didn't pay off so well and it looked terrible for her. I do appreciate seeing that it does seem like she's taking the game seriously.
Thank you.
Even in her own special headband stealing way.
Exactly. It's like she said, I see how Peppermint would make me seen, and I really want to think about who I want to be. Who is my reality brand? Am I the woman that comes in and just plays the game? Or am I somebody who understands how to compete? Am I somebody who understands that I might have made a mistake? And now I'm going to use empirical data and not just, I have a feeling, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That was literally something she said in those first 2 weeks. I have a feeling, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But here, she's talking about data. There is something to be said for the opportunity for a person to show their intelligence a few weeks in, and in this case, perhaps just 6 or 7 days in, even if it is the 8th episode. So I thought this was actually a pretty good moment for Trishelle, who I think makes every bad decision, and I don't particularly root for. I don't want her to win. I don't want her to be there at the end. I think she's played a sloppy game. Traders isn't a game where you root for people to win because you like them. It's where you root for people to win because it's TV. Phaedra Parks is kind of a bully at times. She is a nightmare. And I should come down on her as hard as I come down on Plain Jane. But that's not this game. This game is how fucked up can you be to win.
Yeah.
Drag Race is how talented can you be to win. This is about being a bad person to win. I root for Phaedra. This takes into consideration the fact that she is a well-educated, highly intelligent, and strategic person who knows how to interact with a room full of people. That said, I think there is a treatment to Peter. Kevo, if you would just please put up what I think are the daddy sexiest images ever. First of all,
I was
look
ready.
at
I've
the way
been waiting.
that little tummy coming out just a little bit is like the peak of sexual perfection. And then the gray sweatpants, doing the curls. This is what a man should always be doing when he is by himself in a giant wooden room with a vase behind him. He should just be working out shirtless in gray sweatpants, curling what I can only assume are the world's most janked 15s. Baby, you look
That's
so good.
15 kgs.
Ooh.
No.
Ooh. I can only imagine that he went to the producer and was like, Pete Batchy wants shirtless. And they said yes. I'm being funny because he clearly is a very intelligent player and is doing a marvelous job. Part of what this really did remind me is this is a show about stupid people being stupid. The real people are real and they are amazing and they're brilliant and they're honest to God human beings. But this is about performance.
This is genuinely no less ludicrous than Bergie clutching his teddy bear.
Yes.
In that one shot. And it's the masculine form.
1,000%. And I love this. I think this is great. But now I want to add a couple of things into this. Number one, they don't live in this castle.
Nope.
They come here for a few hours a day.
Yep.
So they said, get in your pajamas like you're working out before bed and frame yourself in the mirror with all of these candles lit around you, but also the lamp is on.
Well, I mean, also, they did it for Trishelle, too, except she's in her pajamas, like, doing her beauty routine. And I almost put that I really ought to have. It was shitty of me just to pick on Peter for this. But it's, these are flashes when Kate and Phaedra are discussing in the turret who they're going to kill. And, Phaedra's like, we could kill Pete. And, they cuts to this and then they're like, but what about Trishelle? And she's just there, hair flowing. She's in like, a thing she never wears, which is like, full top and bottom, button down men's pajamas, but for ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody shopped from the Land's End catalog.
100%.
I'm a college freshman away from home for the first time.
It's the weirdest thing that I need to know, were they like way before production started, they were like, we need to get these shots of everybody so we can use them if needed? Or were they specifically like, for this episode, we need Trishelle and Peter to come to the castle, get into the stupidest bedroom routine of all time for either of you, and we'll take some shots.
All right. 1 windmill. 2 windmill, 3 windmill, 4 windmill. And then
I'm done.
5. So, Jonah, how did you feel about the dangler that they shoved at us? Okay, first of all, what did you think about the fact that it was Sloppy Sandra who was like, oh, go for Trishelle, reset. And Phaedra was like, good, someone else said it for me, thank you. And then everybody was like, Phaedra, you're sus. How did you feel about this crazy dangler? And how do you feel going into the next episode, knowing that we are at the beyond the halfway point, I think, at this point?
One of the things is this roundtable was very fascinating because you have certain people playing a game and certain people still thinking the game is get out all the traitors. No. It was actually Pilot Pete who got it on in a windmill 4 times to point out you should take a known traitor to the finale because then you have an easy layup to knock out someone that you know. So, exactly. However, he's now kind of getting mad that the strategy is getting used against him because it's, yeah, Peter, we know you're faithful. You should be out of here. We're not trying to share the money with you. It is very interesting that we were left on this very tense moment of, is it Phaedra or is it Peter? And at this point, I don't know how Phaedra herself is going to win. Now, the other funniest part of that entire episode is MJ clocking that Kate was already off her game. It's like, is she a traitor? Is that allowed?
You're looking funny. Kate, you're vacant. Oh my God, MJ calling anyone vacant is like an empty hotel pointing out that no one lives in the mansion.
I've seen a lot of people critique Sandra's gameplay, and Sandra herself, there are two sides to it. We've talked about it ourselves, that it does come across, does she know what's going on? Versus, hey, are you actually playing like a big old game right now? Are you actually big braining everything? I don't know if we have a good enough read to be able to tell what the actual motive behind everything is. Is she playing a great game and she knows Phaedra's a thing, nobody else is being led on to this? Or does she actually really not want Peter there and is willing to risk herself for it? Because she's not protected right now. And I'm actually surprised. I'm only surprised Sandra's made it this far, and the traders did not immediately identify her as a threat. They did this with Johnny Bananas, but the Queen of Survivor, who's won Survivor twice, you didn't want to get rid of her early?
I'm not being mean. I'm being realistic about understanding how people react to physical cues. I really wonder if between the braces and the fact that historically people don't expect quite as much from women of color, I wonder if the combination, oh, well, this isn't Survivor, and look at the braces, and I mean, she's not CT, she's not Johnny Bananas.
She's got paint on her overalls.
Exactly. I really wonder if there is a cultural underplaying of her value, because when they take out women on the show, they take them out because, oh, Parvati was being sus. When they take men out on the show, it's because whether you're being sus or you're just powerful, you're a danger. And I wonder if because she doesn't have that danger vibe by definition of being a woman, she's being given the room to play a longer game.
Fascinating.
You know, one of the things that I have loved the most about this season of The Traitors, especially compared to season 1, is every personality is just as big as any other, with the exception of Sheree, who they literally seem to think if they give her too much screen time, it will cost them money. I love that Phaedra is literally ready to bite you. I really think that's great, because CT is ready to bite you. And kind of sort of Kate would bite you, but she's convinced that you're not worth messing up her teeth. And the personalities this season of The Traitors are so enormous. I feel confident saying that at least one of the following, Saphira or Plain Jane or Nymphia, will be in the top 2. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Who cares? I just don't think I can say the same thing for this season of Traitors. I would love to think that I know 3 people who will be in the finale, but I genuinely would have guessed that they would have thought that Kevin was too stupid to send home. I genuinely would have guessed that they would have doughboyed Bergie to the end. I genuinely would have guessed that John would have been eliminated early on simply for his job as being a politician. But one of the things that The Traitors offers us that the other shows don't, that we cover, is that The Traitors is about determining personality type and your contribution to the overall picture. Drag Race, nobody ever says, oh, I'm going to vote you out because we have 2 sporty girls in case they do a Spice Girls challenge. We can't have 2 sport girls. But on The Traitors, they will say, sweetie, the blonde one wears headbands better. Parvati, you got to go. So it's so weird that now that nobody's calling her Poverty, I can say her name is Parvati without any problems.
I can't.
Well, that's because you just don't like her, and that's fair. Yeah, because I got to be honest, there's some people on this show that I'm not rooting for.
What are you talking about? I don't have a problem with her.
I'm genuinely not rooting for MJ to get to the end. I love her, and I think she's funny as shit. I'll probably watch some Shaws of Sunset clips, but I don't think she played a great game. You know, guys, how do you... Oh, please, Kevo, please pick on it. Please click on it. There it is. Oh, Seasons of Love. So how do you guys feel with this unbelievable season of dramatic television coming to a very short close? I think we've got like 5 weeks left total, and then we're done. Then we ain't trading no more, because the finale of Traitors is 3 to 4 people.
That's very short to you? 5 weeks feels like a lot to me.
Considering that I feel like the 16-person seasons of Drag Race sometimes take like 3 months from when I look at the air date to the air date, that it's like January to late April, that this would have run 12 weeks doesn't seem like that much to me, especially with the finale having 4 to 5 people in it. So I can kind of balance it out. Whereas like there's some reality shows that I love, like Making It or Blown Away, that do a whole drop or drop it in 6 weeks.
Also, can I tell you something wild? There's only 2 more episodes of Drag Race like previewed, like up on anything.
There you go, man. That's almost done.
No, I mean there's going to be more, because they can't, unless they do a massive elimination or something.
Well, there's going to be 8 next week, so then the finale is going to be 3 or 4. So there's only 4 more eliminations.
Yeah, but they don't have episodes listed past episode 9. It's usually like 12 to 14 episodes,
and they're usually
they canceled the show.
Yeah, it got really
done.
unpopular. Yeah, it was Saphira and Plain Jane. They were just so boring because they're so talented that everybody just knew the end of the season. All right, guys, sound off. Let's finish this up with some U.S. traders, or as I'm going to start calling it, Oosta traders. Let's get on with our lives. Kevo, how you feeling about Senor Cummings' Scottish traders in the U.S.? A real small world.
I'm flustered by the cliffhanger ending. I feel like this show already pulls enough twists and stuff like that. But it's not something they do every single week, at least. There are episodes where we get a little bit more of a calm, complete ending. This one just is very vexing. But we'll see how it turns out. We don't know how many episodes there are left, right?
Yeah, we're not really sure.
Okay, so we'll see.
Now, Jonah, we asked you to watch this with us. We didn't really explain it to you. We were just like, watch! And so it happened. For you, is this a Swatch situation and it's super awesome, or is this like a first-generation Apple Watch for you?
Swatch is in the dog from Mood? Oh, absolutely love Swatch.
I was thinking a little bit more like a Swatch like Blossom and Six would have traded if they had won them, being contestants on Nick Arcade. But I will also take the dog from Project Runway.
I'm here for it. It's entertaining. I do enjoy it. I do think a slight shake up to the game just to help things along might be a little bit better. But overall, it's very entertaining. I am very much enjoying everything that's going on. I think we got soundbite after soundbite after soundbite, and one of the greatest fights and multiple great fights. And I don't understand how this show just keeps feeding us. But yeah, keep it going.
For life.
For real.
TK, one of the things that I love the most is you actually probably are a little bit more in touch with a lot of these people than I am. I had to find out who the fuck Kate was. I had to find out who Phaedra Parks was. And I've come to realize that I know nothing about Bravo television if it doesn't involve Tim Gunn yelling at somebody to make it work. So how are you feeling about Traders, the things you know, the things you haven't known, and your part in watching this show and making it a global phenomenon?
I really hate this show and these people.
I'm so glad we do this together.
And I can't explain why I haven't been like, no, we've got to stop doing this. But I really it's not like I want to, and I'm not saying it to you guys. Like, something works. I can't figure out what it is, though, because I don't I don't like any of this. It's all wrong to me. Except Kate. I like Kate. Kate's great. The fact that Kate is just already bored. I told Nico, like, I did think it was 50-50 that she would be like, no, being a traitor is too much work. I'll just go home.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There is something weird about this show that I do want to watch it and talk about it, but I hate it and I hate everyone involved. And I don't know what a weird enigma it is. I would cast this so differently if I had the chance to. But I get why it's this cast. For the same reason why I would never in a million years, I want to get this on air in front of everybody right now, gun to my head, you could not convince me in Lorne Michaels' chair to let Shane Gillis host SNL. But I can't deny the numbers from people that I think are absolute garbage and I despise and I think are worthless pieces of shit who watched it, who otherwise would absolutely not watch SNL and loved it and thought it was so good. And the fact of the matter is, our demographic, people that would usually watch SNL when it's good hosts and when it's good TV, don't love it. We're not super here for it. If they have good sketches, we will trade the good sketches or meme the good sketches on Twitter and on Instagram.
Yep.
But we are no longer doing every Saturday at 11:30. We're ready to go, and then we talk about it for the next week. And we were the group that used to do it. We all walked away because it got not funny. It wasn't that it was too offensive. It wasn't that they were hiring Shane Gillis's. It was just that we were bored. That other demographic, their only problem was that they weren't hiring enough Shane Gillis's. So they hired a Shane Gillis, and the numbers went through the roof. And I guarantee you, we're going to see all of the, Dave Chappelle was already just on stage for no reason the other night. Like, we're going to see all of the people that can draw that kind of crowd. And it's the same thing with this. I don't like any of these people. If I were allowed to cast the show, Peppermint and Kay would be the only two that pass. I mean, Phaedra too. It would be a lot of them, but not all of them. But I know that the reason that they're there is because a huge demographic of people that I am not part of are like, hell yeah, I want to see that random person from Big Brother, Shaws of Sunset, the UK Parliament. And I can't deny that from the idea of a successful business standpoint, they're doing something very right.
For me, this is the only use of these people that I can really stand, and I really think part of the fascination and joy of Kate is that it feels like she is one of the only people that is free of the delusion that everyone falls under by joining this game.
Oh my
where,
God.
like, they all really think they're trying to escape a murder, and I think Phaedra in some ways really thinks she's a murderer now. And it's this enormous delusion that a lot of them, when they come out after, are like, I don't even know what happened. It was such a weird atmosphere there, and it was so intense while we were there. And Kate's one of the people who was like, I just thought it was going to be like she didn't use this word, but basically, like, I thought it was going to be like LARPing in a castle, and it wasn't, and that bored me. And I feel like that energy for her even comes across on screen.
Oh, yeah.
Where I don't think she takes this as seriously as so many of the people do. Even what's his name early on who quit, who was so upset by it.
Yeah.
Like, that is still taking it seriously, even if we felt like he was a better person than most of the other people. But that's why it got to him then, is because he really was like, this game is fucked up, and it takes a fucked up person to take this seriously. And I think someone like Peppermint probably might not have lasted as long anyway, because I think she would not have fallen into that atmosphere as well. And I think this type of show you are pitching with performers more like her in a show like this would be a lot lighter and more fun and a little bit less intense in a way that, but like, because it's these people, at least it makes me laugh. Like, you're all assholes. You're all idiots. This is ridiculous if you're really taking this drama and this murder idea so cutthroat and seriously. It's laughable. And so this is the type of person it's fun to laugh at for.
And I think that's even why so many of the people who have left the show have had an unbelievably positive reaction to it in their absurd post-show interviews. Even the ones who are a little bit bitter bunnies, like my precious Janelle, are really being like, yeah, but like the season was tough. The gameplay isn't the problem. The show isn't the problem. People are playing it like shit. They're playing it like bad people, or they're playing it like game players. And when you have some people playing it like they have no morals and some people playing it like it's a game on TV, that's a bad combination. And nobody is coming after their other players. They're just coming after the strategy. And I think that kind of reiterates what we said about our comments earlier on Drag Race Untucked, and UK versus the World, as well as Traders. Although I think I'm a little bit more ready to aggress the Traders competitors than I am Drag Race competitors. These are all people who are subject to production making them look a certain way. I think in some ways that might be to their benefit. It might make them look better, smarter. But then there's times where they purposely use the fact that the audience doesn't know that John sleeps at a hotel down the street to make it look like he doesn't know to go upstairs to go to bed. So it's a trade. All said and done, of these three, I think my favorite episode of the week was Traders. But I think for what it means to the franchise, Snatch Game played a bigger part in what we're going to talk about next year than this one episode of Traders did. And in that regard, I want to congratulate Plain Jane on a deserved, if not well-deserved win. Congratulate Saphira on a tragically ripped away, well-deserved win. Say, Hannah, thank you for continuing to represent your down under sisters. And to everybody on the Traders, find Jesus. Does anybody else have any other sign-off information, anything they want to share? Or do we just want to tell everybody where they can find us? Jonah, we're going to start with you.
My last moment, shout out to the Untucked editors because they were on one last night, the few nights ago. Everything about it was perfection.
It was Viagra and Quaaludes.
Literally, Dawn's Q saying, point them out. And Playjay go, you want me to point them out? You, and you, and you, and you. And there was a little ding after each point, and it was the funniest thing in the entire world.
And where is she? Ding.
And where are they? And them. I was not featuring you. You could have brought it harder. And I also appreciated the conversation between Dawn and Plain, and Saphira, where Dawn said, Plain, I have no problems with you. I actually quite like you. But I don't want you coming in here and spewing all of that when we don't need to hear it, and it's unsolicited. And Saphira saying, it's not the problem of what you said, it's how you said it. And Plain going, you know what? I do agree. I think I was wrong in that moment.
Yeah. Super necessary to see these amazing queens grow and learn and evolve. Big fan. Jonah, I'm also a big fan of yours, and getting to see you grow and evolve and learn has been amazing. Where can everybody find you online if they want to study your amazing development?
You can find me anywhere at socials at Peak Jonah. That's Peak.
Oh, that's so exciting. So, Jonah, I hope everybody follows you, and I hope they come to find all of your amazing Drag Race opinions. Not that you post a whole lot, but if you posted more, they'd love it. But speaking of somebody who also doesn't post a whole lot, but has a whole lot to say, just like you, Kevo, it's always amazing what an amazing job you do producing this amazing show. I'm going to get one more amazing Spider-Man. So I cannot wait to continue making this show with you. But did you have any parting thoughts on this episode? And is there anything you're looking forward to on our amazing project board?
I'm going to get you a thesaurus is what I'm going to do. Yeah, no, like I said,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'm like I said at the beginning. At the end of our Snatch Game coverage, I'm anxious to see what challenges there are left for the rest of the season. I know we've got the debate, probably some other dumb stuff. Who knows? Probably another scent challenge. And then we're gonna have some new programming coming up. We're gonna have some cool movies coming out. I'm super excited. And in the meantime, you can find me on the socials at Kev O'Reilly. That's KEVOREALLY. Teak, what about you? What are you vibing?
I don't think I have a lot more to say on any of this.
Yeah, we're tapped.
Yeah.
Great. So where can everybody double tap you if they want to tap you on Instagram?
You find me at TK Elemental. Nico, what about you?
Nico Action on all your social, whether that's SoundCloud, YouTube, or more. If you want to find out more about me, NicoAction. But there are 3 things I'm going to ask you guys to do. Like, comment, subscribe. That's the stuff that I hope you guys do. But the 3 things I'm going to ask you to do. Number 1, it's a spooky, spooky world out there. So you got to stay safe. Weather is crazy right now. So also, like, stay physically safe. We're about to jump 40 degrees tomorrow. I can't forgive this. Up here in the Northeast, right? That's Asbury Park right behind me. So number 1, stay safe. Number 2, be brave. If you think we are talking about these people up on this show being incredible, it's because they're being brave. It's because they're getting out there and they're sharing their art. And we know that every one of you has beautiful art inside of you. And I promise I will be a lot gentler with you than I am with the Traders Cast. And number 3, evolve daily, because who you were yesterday, that's amazing. Who you were today is even better, and I can't wait to see who you're going to be tomorrow. And that's the 3 we need, right? But also please like, comment, and subscribe because we're hungry. But until next time, we'll see you.